get closer.
What's going on, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to FreQuenczy and RedToa's review reaction part 11. What's going on, everybody?
Hello.
Thanks for
And we are hearing an echo on our end.
FreQuenczy and RedToa's
I know what it is.
review reaction
My bad.
part 11. Going on, everybody?
Hello.
Oh no, I
Hearing
forgot
an
to
echo
mute
on
this.
our end.
Oh, I know what it is.
Oh.
My bad. There we go.
Alright. If you guys can still hear the echo, I will restart. I forgot to mute that site. Anyway, if you guys can still hear it, let me know and I'll restart the stream really quick, but I think we're good to go. Boost the microphone. There we go. Let me also know if the microphone sounds okay. I set some different settings with it. Hopefully you guys should be able to hear us okay, but if it's like blowing out, let me know as well. Cool. Alright, so who we got in the chat? We got Bolt Mouse, Dean Gavitt, Nicholas Foster, Viddy's Gaming Videos, Josh Mann, and Nick Ray. How's everybody doing tonight? You guys are like always here. I really appreciate it. You guys are the super freaks here.
Oh yeah, you guys are awesome.
Okay. And, Sonic Bobom made it as well. Thanks for joining. I'm sure there might be others watching in the stream, not commenting. That's okay, too. Thanks for joining. And we're going to start off with VSR Void Space Racing. And I think I want to check something real quick. Okay, yeah. Alright, so let's just get on into it. Here we go. Mr. Toad, thanks for joining.
It's time for the VSR Void Space Racing review for the Nintendo Switch. As I mentioned in my previous review of Arrow, I was browsing through the Nintendo eShop looking for some good deals. I came across this game and noticed it was on sale for only 49 cents. I thought, I guess I'll try it. Even if it sucks, it's only 49 cents. Well, was it worth it? No. So let's
Wow.
why. This is going to be a short review because what you're seeing is all the game has to offer. You pilot a spaceship racing against AI ships around various galactic objects. The goal is to race through a preset mapping of rings. 2 arrows, one red and one blue, will show you the current ring you're supposed to fly through and where the next one will be respectively. The thing is, though, there's of course no gravity, so maneuvering your way through one ring to the next isn't as easy as turning left or right. Because there's no friction to stop you, once you pass through a ring, you'll keep heading in the same direction. But turning towards the next ring is challenging in a bad way. If you're moving at a high speed once you pass through a ring, you're
Bolt Mouse says, oh, you guys saying the audio is low. Let me fix that. Let's try this.
instinct is to turn towards the next ring, but doing so takes forever for your ship to actually face the correct position. So you can wait half an eternity by turning at high speed, or you can put on the brakes, face your ship in the correct position, and then hit the gas. This works fine for the overall goal, but it's boring. This is a race. I don't want to stop, and there's an easy solution to this that I wish the developers included. All they needed to do was add side thrusters to your ship. You could activate them when
there
you need
aren't
to turn
any
sharply,
side thrusters?
which, by the way, is almost all the time. But instead, you play the stop-and-go nonsense. So once you get your timing down with the acceleration and brakes, the game becomes too easy and boring. The shoulder buttons allow you to tilt the camera, but this doesn't really help at all. In fact, it could be argued that it makes it more difficult to fly through the rings. If you miss too many rings, I actually don't know what the penalty is. I missed more than the supposed limit right here, yet I received first place and a star next to the track in the selection to indicate I received first. So I don't know. It just makes it feel unfinished. Flying through rings is boring, to say the least. If you get too bored like I did and just say screw this and try to leave the racing area, the game won't allow it and will turn you around and position your ship so that it's facing dead center on the current ring you're supposed to fly through, and it'll take the reins and fly through it for you. Who cares? They could have added more elements like upgradable ships, or things you need to avoid like bumpers scattered throughout, or aliens trying to shoot you, or something. The only things you need to avoid are space stations and asteroids, which aren't really in the way as they are more a part of the track, I guess you could say. This is one of those games where graphics don't make a good game. There's a handful of stages, and visually they all look really good, but do the graphics help with the core gameplay? No. No, they don't.
The
Another
specs,
positive is the music.
the specs and like particles in the atmosphere just make it look really weird. Like, you know what I mean? It looks like you're almost underwater or something, but yeah, it doesn't look very spacey.
Oh. Never thought about it.
For gameplay, no, they don't. Another positive is the music. It definitely fits with the Racing in Outer Space theme, and it's EDM, which I like in the first place. Multiplayer is the same crap as single player, but both of you have to share the boredom. Need I say more? I don't think so. Very sucky racing. I mean, void space racing isn't worth your time. While the graphics and music are good, the core gameplay is extremely lackluster, and it just feels like the whole game is unfinished. The lack of side thrusters make it so that the mechanic of no gravity or friction doesn't work with a racer unless you have something in the game to work around it, like side thrusters. This stop and go crap is boring and unappealing. It feels like it could have a lot of potential, but for now, you can bypass this one. This game gets a 1 out of 5 with the title of horrible.
I actually did watch this review somewhat recently.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, maybe like a couple months ago.
That game felt like a college student project that needs some serious work. I think the graphics look fine. The music I really like. Other than that, it needs something.
Yeah, Josh Man says it just looks like Superman 64 almost.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of the good graphics are only good because I'm willing to bet that was like a big asset flipping game. Do you know what that is?
Mm-mm.
It's like when a small developer buys the rights to like game assets on a website. So like some other third party makes these game assets like that Earth globe. You know, it's like a high quality asset. They buy the rights to that and they put that in the game. So they don't have to actually make it themselves. So I'm willing to bet that's how they got like all those big planets. You know,
maybe. Somebody said, I think it was Mr. Toe said, "Am I going to review the Thousand Year Door remake coming out?" I'm not opposed to it, but just like Xenoblade on Switch, I don't know if there's enough content for me to justify making the review. Although I reviewed Thousand Year Door on GameCube, 13, 14 years ago, so I guess I could see myself doing that more so than the Xenoblade one. Maybe it wasn't. It was somebody else. I don't know who it was. As far as how many reviews we're going to get today, we're probably going to at least get to around Pikmin 4, maybe somewhere in that area. And because I want to leave enough reviews out to watch for the final live stream, which sadly is next week. If the schedules allow it. So anyway,
how many reviews do you think you'd have to do so we do another episode of this?
At least 12. At least.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. So I am excited for a Thousand Year Door remake.
Yeah, me too.
I'm not sure I'm going to get it day one, but maybe later on. But you said you're going to get it.
Yeah, I think I will. I'll get that, and then after I beat that, I'll probably get the Elden Ring DLC.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because, let's see. Yeah, I think Thousand Year Door is in May, and then Elden Ring DLC is in June, so that kind of lines up.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Let's get to the next one. Here we go.
It's time for the Crypt of the Necrodancer review for the Nintendo Switch. One little factoid veteran freaks probably know about me is that I love rhythm games. Heck, my YouTube name is based off the not so well known PS2 game FreQuency. But another factoid most of you probably don't know is that I love roguelike games as well, with the first one I ever played being Castle of the Winds for Windows 3.1. Wow, now that I think of it, that was one of the very first video games I ever played. Anyway, fuse these two genres together and you've got this game. Does it work well? Let's find out. You begin as a girl named Cadence, and after falling down a pit in search of her missing father, a fiend known as the Necrodancer steals her heart, and now it's up to you to retrieve it back. Doing so is quite the unique task. Like I said, this is a roguelike tile-based game, however doing anything with your surroundings is based off the beat of the song in each level. If you want to walk, you'll have to do it on the downbeat. Hack and slash an enemy, downbeat. Once you defeat an enemy correctly, the floor will trigger a disco effect that's psychedelic, man, and continue until you miss a beat. You also have a coin multiplier that's relied on your ability to keep the beat. Enemies drop gold, and how much gold you're rewarded depends on your coin multiplier. If you miss a beat or are damaged by enemies, the floor's disco effect will disappear and your coin multiplier will return to its base level. You can earn these back by playing consistently with the beat. At the beginning of the first floor of every level, Cadence will automatically carry a throwable dagger, a shovel, and one bomb. As you traverse through, you'll find different weapons, armor, spells, and
Do you
various
ever
other
throw
items
the
to
dagger?
complete your quest. There's
Very
usually a merchant on
rarely.
every
I
floor
almost
of every
never do
level
that.
with a random assortment of items you can purchase. By default, you're only able to carry one item per category, except for spells where you can carry two at a time. When you pick up a new weapon, for instance, your current one will drop on the floor. You can always pick it back up if you decide the new one doesn't play as well for your style. However, once you find and go down the stairs to the next floor, you won't be able to return to the previous floor to pick up any items you may have left. You can't just wander forever on a floor, as you must find the stairs before the song ends. If you don't, you'll automatically drop down through a trap floor. I'm not sure what the chances are, but sometimes if you drop down, you'll end up in a room filled with enemies waiting to attack. So it's best to find the stairs and not risk
I
an
know.
ambush.
I didn't know it at the time.
There are handfuls of different weapons all randomly selected to find and pick up when you arrive on a new floor. The default dagger you have won't get you very far. Many weapons will do damage to enemies at one tile adjacent to you, but my recommendation is to find and keep a weapon that will do damage from at least 2 tiles away. Why? Because the majority of enemies can only damage you if they're right next to you. In my opinion, 2 of the best weapons in the game are the bow and crossbow. There are some great melee weapons, don't get me wrong, but at least for me, I have a higher rate of survival if I have a distance weapon. Many times you'll find upgraded weapons such as titanium, where it attacks with double base damage, obsidian, where your coin multiplier determines the weapon's attack power, or even blood weapons, where they only attack with base power, but after defeating a certain amount of enemies, you'll receive some health back. There are different trait-giving armors and items scattered throughout, so there's so many possibilities of mixing and matching, and gives you different ways to play. In addition to gold, you'll find diamonds hidden throughout. You can spend these at merchants in the game's lobby. Items bought by diamonds are then released into the randomizer of the game. Some purchases are permanent upgrades, such as increasing the max hearts you begin with, or increasing the max coin multiplier you can obtain. One shop I highly appreciate is this one right here. For a few diamonds, you can purchase a selection of randomized weapons, armors, and items to begin your next playthrough with them. There are other NPCs which offer training in certain scenarios. With the Switch version, I highly recommend you play with the Joy-Con. I play with the Pro Controller for every game I have on Switch that allows it, except I found the Joy-Con to be a much wiser choice for this game. The directions of the D-pad on the Pro Controller are connected to each other and can mess you up in the direction you want to move in. The D-buttons on the Joy-Con, however, aren't connected to one another and makes it much easier to input the correct direction. For what it's trying to be, graphically it looks great. Vibrant colors of the enemies and objects, and the disco effect on the floor really adds to the groove. The music is awesome. I'm sure many of you know I love EDM, so I may be a little biased, but it's not just the fact that the music is a form of EDM, but it fits well with the overall theme of the game. It has a dark, yet silliness to it that works really well. Enemies aren't the only obstacles you need to watch out for. Elemental tiles can negatively affect you like fire and ice, and traps are scattered throughout. Fortunately, enemies aren't always immune to these either. Each level consists of 3 floors, with a boss fight on the 4th. The boss fights are challenging and creative. You really need to focus if you want to win, because if you die here, you have to start the whole level all over again. Half of the game's challenge comes from fighting enemies, yes, but the other half is in the mechanic of staying on the beat. Every floor of every level becomes more difficult just due to the increase of tempo of the song. Level 4, Floor 3 will really test your skills. I hated the boss fight of Level 4, not because it's impossibly difficult, but because I knew if I died here, getting back here would be a huge pain. There's a co-op mode where you and a friend can battle together. It's actually more fun than I thought it would be. The only downside is that if the second player purchases items in this shop before you begin a playthrough, the items are automatically assigned to player 1, and the only way to give them to player 2 is to find other items within the same category so you can drop them. Other than that, it's still really fun, and I find
That doesn't
the
make
overall
any
difficulty
sense.
doesn't
Like,
drop
why did they
that
do it
much.
like that?
I don't
They
know.
still have to work together to defeat... There's quite a few characters you can unlock and play as, each with their own unique playstyle. Like with Eli, he can't attack directly, but has infinite bombs you can use and toss around. This really forces you to change up your strategy, but feels very rewarding when you get the job done. Or like with the Bard, you don't have to move with the beat whatsoever, and enemies only move when you do. This makes the game much easier, but so satisfying when you can just plow your way through. There are many different game modes to try out with any character, so finding one to suit your playstyle shouldn't be a problem. I thought it was cool how they even put a dedicated speedrun mode in. The Switch version comes with all the DLC readily available. There's a new level with new enemies, items, and music. There's also new characters with their own unique playstyle. The DLC adds a lot of new content for more groovy fun. Crypt of the Necrodancer is a fantastic rhythm roguelike hybrid. Anyone who enjoys either one of these genres should have a great time. I wish there were more floors per level, and more levels in general. The game can get seriously frustrating, but most of the frustration...
Oh yeah,
say
that is...
most comes from you, the player, not being able to coordinate effectively. The only way to master it is to keep on playing. This game gets a 4.25 out of 5 with the title of Awesome.
If I'm not mistaken, I think Crypt of the Necrodancer has some DLC coming out soon.
Really?
Yeah.
Awesome. I will definitely get that. Evil! I was just watching SpongeBob the other day with Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy.
Dean Gavitt, speaking of Joy-Con, how often have you experienced Joy-Con drift?
Never.
So much. My Joy-Con are just practically unusable now. And I fixed them multiple times, but they just keep getting worse and worse.
Oh. Never, because I never play with them.
Oh.
I use the Pro Controller all the time except for Crypt. It's the only time I don't.
And you don't even use the joysticks on that.
No. I don't... Honestly, I don't like the Joy-Con. They're too thin. They don't feel ergonomically sound in my hands. So
They're very small, yeah.
I don't like them.
Hello, Walk Up. We're doing all right.
What's up, Walk Up? Everybody's here now. Do I prefer classic SpongeBob or modern? Oh, classic.
Classic,
Of course.
of course.
The first 3 seasons are the best. I tried watching a little bit past season 3 of SpongeBob, and it's just different.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't feel right. And same thing with Futurama. I watched.
Oh, really?
I tried watching technically season 6 is it's a bunch of movies. So season 7 is the real season that starts after, and I couldn't finish the episode. It was just not fun. The jokes felt so forced. It was sad.
That's too bad.
The first 5 seasons of Futurama are awesome. So
You've had the Pro Controller
since day one.
Yeah, since day one, right?
Day one. Yeah. I think the internal battery is starting to die because it doesn't keep it charged like it used to, but just 10,000 miles better than Joy-Con.
I've only had my Pro Controller since I got Splatoon 3, so it's pretty recent. I've used my Joy-Con, the same Joy-Con I got since I first got my console, like around July or August of the year it came out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Do we have any special edition Pro Controllers? No. It's just the super basic one.
Yeah, that's what mine looks like too.
Alright, let's get to the next one. Harvest Moon, A Wonderful Life. I think this was Was it Magical Chicken? No, this was not Magical Chicken. Yep.
It's time for the Harvest Moon A Wonderful Life review for the GameCube. Now, I had always been aware of the Harvest Moon franchise growing up, but I was never too interested in the whole farm sim style until I played Rune Factory Frontier, which is more or less a hybrid of the genre. So, after playing this game, should I have not waited so long to experience it? Let's find out. The story is about how your character has inherited a farm from your late father in Forget-Me-Not Valley. Your father's best friend shows you around, provides you a cow to help you get started, and gives you a simple tutorial. Simplicity is the nature of this game. It's not difficult by any means, but it's not meant to be. As I said in the beginning, this is a farm simulation RPG. You can pretty much do anything at your own pace, and there's several things to do just on your farm alone. Plan and harvest crops, taking care of your animals, and purchasing new animals and features for your farm. Even though you can choose what to focus on, you'll have to abide by the time and date of the in-game clock and calendar year. 1 real second is 1 in-game minute, and there are 4 10-day seasons, and each one affects your gameplay differently, such as some crops don't grow well or at all in certain seasons. Farming is only half of what you can do. The other half is interacting with the residents of the town and ultimately marrying one of the 3 eligible bachelorettes. Each one has their own unique personality, and wooing them isn't exactly challenging. Once you find out what each one likes, and just as importantly, dislikes, you can focus on who you'd like your future bride to be, and can marry them relatively quickly. Talking to townsfolk can be fun at first, as it's interesting to see the unique personalities of each one, but after a while it can become a bit stale, as you'll notice they don't say too much outside of the current year. That's not to say the characters don't have different things to say, but it seemed like most of the time when I would speak to them, they would say the same thing over and over within each year. That goes for the girl you're trying to marry. If you read their diary, it'll
Is
tell
that
you
the one
your
you
progress on
married?
where you are romantically with the girl, and you'd think by gaining more and more hearts with them, their scripts would broaden, but not really. They'll usually comment on the current season, whether they like it or not, or just have general opinions on random things. There's really not too much depth in the conversations, which I found disappointing. Once you marry your bride, your house will be upgraded in the next year, and you'll have a son. Interacting with your son is more in-depth than I initially thought it would be, as their personality and decisions they make as they grow up can be altered by how you interact with them. Now, they won't deviate too much from their natural personalities, but it's cool to see what changes can happen. Your son isn't the only one who changes, as the villagers in certain places change as well, and it's pretty cool to find out what will happen in each new year. One goal is to increase the animal populace of your farm. As I said before, you can purchase new animals.
Upon no,
Yeah.
because it was a male
Yes.
horse.
Or anything for that matter takes money, of course, and the best way to gain capital in the beginning is by selling wildflowers. You can find them scattered throughout
Hold
the
on.
valley.
I forgot I put that in there.
Oh, that little you don't say
Uh-huh.
thing.
Purchasing animals, or anything for that matter, takes money, of course, and the best way to gain capital in the beginning is by selling wildflowers. You can find them scattered throughout the valley occasionally, and it's pure profit when you sell them. Thing is, you can't sell anything at any time, and usually have to wait for a vendor to set up shop on specific days. You have the option to set up your own shop and hope people will come buy from you, but it's not guaranteed you'll make money. While selling wildflowers is a great starting point, the real money comes from selling crops. Testing the market and figuring out which crops sell for the most is fun, and because the seasons are only 10 in-game days long, you don't have to wait forever to try out new crops. Other things you can do include fishing, digging for fossils and rare items, riding around on your horse, and just interacting with the villagers in general. There's even a mini-game you can play with one of them, which is pretty fun.
I hate that minigame.
For a game that came out
but
2
you just
years
said it's
after
pretty
the
fun.
GameCube was released,
it's
graphically,
fun,
it
but I
feels
can
like
never
it could have
win.
been
Oh.
improved. I mean, some of these textures really makes it feel like it was supposed to be an N64 title, but was scrapped in favor of the GameCube. The controls are simple, but there's an area of quirkiness that I wish was polished out, and that is when
Yeah, was
watering
this
your
like a
crops, it's
really
actually
early
more difficult
GameCube
than it
game?
looks when trying
Yeah,
to
I
target
think
a
so.
specific square plot and gets annoying fast. It's cool that you can rotate the camera 360 degrees horizontally, but you can't move it vertically, which was frustrating at some points. You could go into first-person mode in many areas, but you couldn't move around when doing so. It's still a pretty cool feature. One thing I thought I would enjoy more than I actually did was the act of growing crops in general. I so wish you were able to water more than one square at a time earlier in the game. You can upgrade your watering can, but it only increases the amount of water you can hold before you have to fill
2003,
it back up. Because of
2004
this, I
in North
didn't have the urge
America.
to
Oh,
plant
wow.
More than 3 rows of crops for the first year because 1, it takes a while to water all of them, especially when you can't target the squares as easily as you should, and 2, your character will get tired out after a while. Forget-Me-Not Valley is fairly small, and I wish it was at least twice as large as it is. There's an option to connect to Game Boy Advance with a copy of Harvest Moon Friends of Mineral Town, but I couldn't test this out. It's still a nice option though. Now, even though the game has a lot of charm and does a great job of letting the player focus on what they want and just having a simplistic nature, it's not exactly a game I'm eager to play. Perhaps I'm spoiled by the hybrid Rune Factory style, but this game just doesn't appeal to me as a whole. It's a good game, don't get me wrong, but it's just not something I would want to play on a regular basis. Perhaps if the valley was larger and there were more things to do each season and the characters had more things to say within a year, it would be more appealing. I'd say it's a great game for a younger audience who's never played a farm sim before, or even for those who want a nice simple game that doesn't demand a lot from the player. For now, I'll just say it's not exactly for me, and if I want to play a farm sim, I'll play one of the Rune Factory games. This game gets a 3.5 out of 5 with the title of Good.
It's so hard to find an ending for that.
Well, that's a pretty obvious hint.
Mm-hmm.
Have you played Stardew Valley?
Yes, but I didn't get very far.
Frequency, I was asking before, do you own A Wonderful Life and Harvest Moon? Another Wonderful Life, both Harvest Moon games?
Yeah, actually I do. I bought Wonderful Life for me and another Wonderful Life for Lizzie.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Did she like that game?
Yeah, she liked it. She's definitely more into the what's the term?
Life sim, I think.
That
Life sim game, farming game.
cozy game.
Cozy game, yeah.
That's what it is. Which one do I prefer? Well, I prefer Rune Factory. I don't mind cozy games, but the Rune Factory series has the element of battling monsters. I mean,
Yeah.
that's way more appealing to me. Okay. Alright, here we go. Next one.
It's time for the Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle Review. For the Nintendo
I really
Switch.
like this game. It was
This
really
is my
fun.
10th anniversary review. I uploaded my first review of Brawl back on June 9, 2009. It's been fun reviewing games for you guys and gals for a decade, and I hope you've enjoyed as well. So, let's get into the review. As far as the story goes, I'll give you a very tip of the iceberg synopsis. Crazy incidents take place where the end result is a fusion world between the Rabbids and the Mushroom Kingdom. In the beginning, Mario joins forces with two Rabbids resembling Peach and Squeegee. They also team up with a robot named Beepo, who basically becomes their guide through the new world. The game is about getting from point A to point B, all the while taking down baddies in an XCOM-like turn-based tactical RPG. What is this, you may ask? Well, the game consists of two modes. The first one is where you get to roam the surrounding area, finding treasures and solving puzzles. But once you walk into a battle space, you're confined to a specific region of the map in which you must eliminate your opponents via a variety of attacks. But the map plays an important part in the way that it has a grid layout. Scattered around are blocks and columns and various vantage points that can give you significant cover and advantages in your fight, and you're only able to position the camera on four corners. The whole game relies heavily on how well you can strategize not only your battle tactics, but also how you can utilize your surroundings to the fullest. As you begin a battle, you're able to move all your characters, one by one, a restricted number of spaces on the map. You'll need to anticipate your opponent's moves more so than they do if you want to win. You can't just rush the enemy and expect to come out on top. If you move a character close enough to an enemy, you'll be able to attack. However, the AI is usually smart enough to not just stand out in the open, and moves the enemies so that they take some sort of cover. Depending on the angle you have on an enemy, you'll have a 0, 50, or 100% chance of hitting them with your weapon. Each character has a ranged attack, but also gains a secondary attack later on, which can either be melee or the use of a sentry.
Heck yes!
They also have their own set of support moves. During your turn, each character can move once, use one attack action, and one support action, so long as their own cooldown periods are complete. Once you win a battle, you'll be graded on how well you did.
Would you
in
ever
terms
review
of who
TF2?
survived and how many turns it took.
No.
There are usually a few battles within each world, and
Yeah,
when I say
that-
world,
that's kind of a hard
section of the map.
game to
How
review,
can I do
especially
that?
nowadays.
It's the same with like Fortnite. How do I review Fortnite?
Yeah.
Coins can be used to purchase new weapons, and skill orbs can be traded to acquire or upgrade skills within each character's own unique skill tree. Collecting enough of both currencies isn't too difficult, which is good in the sense that you're able to equip new weapons and learn new techniques relatively quickly, which makes battles feel consistently fresh. Graphically, everything looks polished and clean. There's a lot of attention to detail in the animations of not only your characters, but also your surroundings. It just makes it much more enjoyable. The controls work well for the most part, however I didn't like the fact that you control Beepo and not Mario when exploring the map. At least for me, it feels like I should be controlling Mario, so my eyes naturally look at Mario's position and I try to control him. But instead, I'm always controlling the robot, which isn't as easy to see as Mario is. This makes it annoying, especially when trying to push blocks for puzzles. It's hard to explain, but the point is, I feel I should be controlling Mario, not Beepo. When exploring the open areas, you're free to move the camera horizontally 360 degrees. Well, almost. There are certain areas where the camera locks, yet it doesn't seem like it needed to, and I'm not sure why it even does this. It just makes it annoying. Along the way, you'll meet up with other characters.
Looks like they do that for like
attributes. In my opinion,
to make it look
having your
more
party consist of
cinematic, but
Mario,
yeah.
Luigi, and Peach would be pretty OP, and I guess the devs thought this as well because you're not able to do this. Instead, you have to have Mario in the party, always, and you can either have 2 Rabbids or 1 Rabbid and 1 additional Mario character. Even though I'll admit that having Mario, Luigi, and Peach in the same battle party would be borderline unfair, I still don't like having these restrictions on mixing and matching.
Are those
characters.
restrictions in the
boss
new game?
fights were fun and challenging.
Oh, really? You can have
It's
any
so
character?
refreshing to play
Nice.
a game where the boss battles aren't a cakewalk and you actually have to strategize. The game is loaded with
Oh,
humor, mainly
did you see
slapstick,
that? Yeah,
although
Twilight
it does
Princess.
have sarcasm and even borderline adult humor, something you don't see when Mario and company are present. It actually works though and feels like most could enjoy it. There's a multiplayer versus mode which adds a few new elements. While playing, your team can only perform 3 actions between them, and there are boxes with random abilities scattered throughout the map. Before I started multiplayer, I thought it was just going to be the same scenario as single-player mode, which didn't seem interesting enough. But I'm glad these new elements are in play because you have to strategize arguably even more when battling a friend. Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle is surprisingly more fun than I anticipated. There's so much strategy involved, and if you lose a battle, rarely is it because of unfair AI. Now the difficulty can spike in some areas, but this just forces you to rethink your battle plan and adapt accordingly. The base campaign is a bit shorter than I would have liked, but fortunately there's tons of replayability and items to go back and collect. Also, if you just can't get enough of these ugly bunnies, there's multiple DLC packs to purchase. All in all, it's surprisingly good. Depending on your level of interest, I'm not sure you'd want to pay $60 for it, but if you can get a good deal, you won't be disappointed by this fun, unique game. This game gets a 4.25 out of 5 with the title of Awesome.
I love the animation on this character.
The lost episode.
Oh, yeah. Have you played the DLC for Mario and Rabbids?
No.
Mm.
Frequency, I definitely did not remember this, but I do have a question. What made you disappoint me? What?
What made you disappoint Major Decide?
I don't know what you're asking. I saw a few people in the comments saying this game is just, they couldn't get into it, and that's fair. It's a very unique game.
Mario and Rabbids?
Yeah, and forget the Mario Rabbids portion. Like, if you don't like strategy games, you won't like it. But I can't believe how much fun I had with it, and I think I got it for like $15. It's constantly on sale. Even when it first released, it seemed like a couple months after, it was always on sale for a super low price.
That's surprising, because I remember hearing pretty much everyone liking the game when it came out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why. It's constantly on sale. Oh, I meant to say decide of you coming back to YouTube.
Oh, what made you decide to come back to you? I think that's what he's asking.
Oh, I just felt like I wanted to do it again. Excuse me.
It was this game, pretty much, right? That got you back into reviewing, right?
It was a part of the catalyst, but I was like, I feel like I want to come back.
Words could not describe how happy I was to see this review show up when I saw it. Thanks for your return, Frequency, but I understand your reason for not taking a break.
For taking a break.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Part of it was my old computer was so slow. It was just not fun to review anymore because it would take forever. But also, just in general, I was just burned out. So, yep. This was my return review, and
Your grand return.
I think it was a really good game to return on.
Oh,
too.
yeah.
So, all right, let's get to it.
It's time for the Metroid Prime Remastered review for the Nintendo Switch. This was the most surprising and perhaps most exciting announcement during Nintendo's February 2023 Direct. Completely unexpected, Metroid fans like me were stunned not only because this game actually exists, but it was shadow dropped the same day as the Direct. Well, the digital version anyway. I waited patiently for the physical copy 2 weeks later, and now that I've been able to venture through Talent
Hold on. There's a few Easter eggs there.
A reminder, feed magical chicken.
Uh-huh.
Next review due over 3 years ago.
Uh-huh. And my head's in the way, but it says, hooray for calendars.
Oh.
I don't know. I don't know why, but I feel like that short little live scene just worked so well. My expression is exactly what I was going for.
Nice.
I thought it was just perfect.
Oh, wait. Nick Ray says, my son pointed this video out to me, and when I saw it, was another review of yours, I screamed in joy and surprise. It was such a nice gift for that week.
Oh, good.
All right.
Yep.
Well, the digital version anyway. I waited patiently for the physical copy 2 weeks later, and now that I've been able to venture through Talent 4 on the Switch, does it hold up like its GameCube counterpart? Let's find out. For those of you
that was
who
a
aren't
weird
familiar,
transition.
the Metroid universe focuses on space bounty hunter Samus Aran. After investigating a distress signal on a space frigate orbiting Talon 4, she narrowly escapes its self-destruct sequence and pursues a giant dragon named Ridley to the planet's surface. In searching for Ridley, Samus must traverse through multiple different biomes and figure out the secrets of the planet.
Man,
Because her
this
suit
game
was
looks
damaged
good.
during her escape, Samus only has her arm cannon and power suit, and figuring out where to find her suit's upgrades scattered throughout is half the battle. The game is fairly linear in the beginning, but it doesn't hold your hand much and lets you figure out things on your own for the most part. There are many different areas to explore, but accessing them usually requires some type of suit upgrade, such as certain doors only open with specific weapon types. Once you've gathered a handful of suit upgrades and abilities, not only are you able to continue farther within the map, but many previously explored areas open up more which can offer different routes, or you now have access to other upgrades or abilities. While not fully HD, it hardly matters, as all the original graphical assets have been, as the title suggests, remastered.
Wait, what
The game is beautiful,
resolution
and 60
is the game?
FPS is a cherry on top. I found no instances of slowdown, and a massive quality of
960,
life
I think?
upgrade is just the Switch's ability to load new areas almost instantly. There were only 2 doors in the entire game that didn't immediately open up when prompted. Compare this to the GameCube version, where at least 25% of all doors took an extra second or 2 to open.
Yes, this
It should
game
go
is
without
just like
saying,
this.
but this just helps keep the player immersed and is a huge welcome.
Our
A pretty
parents
cool
would
feature of the
probably
original game
say
has
that.
been
Yeah.
enhanced in this
if they
one,
watched you
and
play
that is
this
when
game.
your own attacks explode very near you, Samus's face is reflected in her visor. You can see more of her face in the Switch version, which is pretty cool. However, I must say I was a bit disappointed when I found out that the light from Samus's charged up cannon didn't illuminate your surroundings, nor did specific elemental shots do the same, something that did happen in the original game. A core element of upgrades for Samus is her weaponry, specifically with different beams. Certain enemies may be a nuisance and take time to defeat, but once you obtain the right weapon, they become easy prey. At the time I reviewed the GameCube version, I didn't have too much difficulty with the controls, save for the fact that I couldn't aim other than straight in front of me while moving around,
I love this
and I had
song.
to
Yeah,
become
me
a
too.
sitting duck in order to aim my cannon in different directions. This was during a time in my gaming career that I had very little experience with standard FPS controller mapping. Fast forward to roughly a year before this video came out, I had the urge to play the GameCube version again, but I couldn't even get past the space frigate due to the archaic design of the original controls. Thank goodness the devs remapped them for the Switch, since dare I argue the game would be almost unplayable for some had the controls not been significantly upgraded. By default, the control layout is your standard FPS mapping, but if you're a masochist, you can change them to the original GameCube design. I highly recommend you don't do this, as the default mapping is basically perfect. There are also motion controller options if you want to go the Prime 3 route, but I didn't even bother with this. The only issue with the default mapping is switching weapons and visors could create a hiccup, specifically if you're in a hazardous situation where quickly switching them is crucial to your success. To switch a visor, you only have to press in a designated direction on the D-pad. However, to switch a weapon, you must first hold down X, then press the D-pad, and as I stated, this can get frustrating if you're frantically trying to switch to the correct visor and/or weapon. Another gripe I had was that sometimes it could be difficult in which target you wanted to focus on. The game usually defaults to the target in front of you if multiple targets are near your focal point, but this can get frustrating if one target is behind the other enough for the targeting system to not lock onto it, even if you position yourself dead center on the one you want. This game heavily focuses on the Solace experience Samus endures, but that doesn't mean you can't find history and lore of the ancient civilization that used to dwell on the planet, as well as journal entries from the enemy you face from scanning computers. There's no need to scan objects or pieces of information, but you'll probably experience a shallow, even soulless game if you just focus on exploration and combat. Adding lifeforms and objects to your personal log helps enhance your adventure even further. Scanning your surroundings is actually one of the key elements of the game, as in many instances it's required in order to solve puzzles and find your way. I previously stated that the game doesn't hold your hand, however it will nudge you in the right direction if it decides you're taking too long to advance to the next destination, in the form of showing you which area on the map you need to go to. It doesn't tell you how to get there, but providing this type of small hint can be welcoming. A minor complaint I have is controlling the map.
Are you able to turn that
controlling
hint off?
Samus, you physically move her around with the left stick and look around with the right. However, the controls for the map are reversed, in that you move the map with the right stick and rotate it with the left. This takes some getting used to, and in the grand scheme of things doesn't play a huge role in the gameplay, but I still wish it was switched, or at the very least, let the player customize the map controls. It would also be helpful to have a compass on the HUD. Many times I found myself trying to figure out which direction I needed to go, and instead of having to repeatedly open up the map, a simple compass would have done the trick. Better yet, it would have been beneficial to allow the player to create destination markers on the map, then have a small arrow or basic visual aid on their minimap guide the player to where the marker was set. Instead, if you don't have each area memorized, you'll be opening your map quite a lot. There's a diverse spectrum of difficulty when it came to the boss fights. Each one had its own degree of challenge, and not all could be approached in the same manner. There were a few where I had to really focus and attentively watch my health gauge. Defeating each boss is highly rewarding as you gain new abilities and paths open up, ready for you to progress further. This is what a remastered game should look like. Beautiful graphics and updated excellent controls with available different playstyles, coupled with the awesome soundtrack and appropriately progressive difficulty scale. There are specific areas for improvement, such as the mapping system and possible frustration caused by the targeting system, but they don't have a huge negative impact on the overall gameplay. I hope we get Prime 2 and 3 on the Switch, or even on the Switch's successor, but if not, I'm just glad we got this. No disrespect to the original, but without a doubt this is the best version of Metroid Prime to play. This game gets a 4.75 out of 5 with the title of Epic.
Oh, you can turn the hint system off. I had no
really?
idea. I thought you couldn't.
Oh man, the music in this game is pretty nostalgic for me.
Yep. Oh man, I had a lot of butterflies in my stomach when I uploaded that review.
Oh yeah,
because it was like 3 years, almost 4 years later, without saying anything.
Yeah,
and then it was fun to watch the comments come through.
Like, he's alive! He's alive!
I think some people thought I was actually dead.
Man.
Like, no. Just,
That's why you guys need to join the Discord.
I think a lot of them are in the Discord.
Yeah.
I will say, the first time I played Metroid Prime on GameCube, finding the artifacts throughout the world, the main objective, was a bit difficult, because I thought I thought they designed it where the player just kind of had to just find them. Just blindly hunt for them.
Oh, really?
And then I started reading the artifact
Oh,
things.
and they give you hints?
There's hints within there. And
Oh,
it's like,
okay.
I gotta go to this room and find it. But, like, going to the room isn't... like, if you're in the right room, there's still a puzzle you need to do, and you have to find that puzzle and figure it out. So it's really well done.
Yeah.
Oh, the Discord link? I can get you one. Give me just a second. Mm-hmm.
RollerCoaster Tycoon. Have you played like the other two roller coaster games? Like, what actually made you want to play this, like, in the first place?
Actually, I say it and I explain it in the review.
Oh, okay.
So we'll wait for that.
Yeah. All right.
Give me just a second. I can get that for you. Oh well, I can't do it there. Shoot.
What about the YouTube Studio?
Oh yeah, of course I can do that. Here you go. So anybody wants to join the Discord who's not already, please do so. I honestly don't talk that much in the Discord, but a lot of you do, and that's cool. You guys make friends with each other. But I do send the links to the reviews in the Discord immediately when they're uploaded. And just as a side note, I was going to say this at the end of this stream, but the next review coming out is complete. I've actually uploaded it to YouTube. It's just set under private right now, but I will release it to the public once this stream is done, so hopefully you guys will look forward to that. And but again, I will also mention it in the Discord as well. So.
There's a few subscribers in that Discord who promote their works, like their art or their videos that they make.
Oh yeah.
So if you guys want to check those out too, that's a good place to. So that good place for you guys to connect and discover more creators.
Okay. Dean Gavitt says maybe I'll join one day. I just rarely use Discord. That's me too. I'm going to be completely honest, brutally honest. I would not have a Discord for my Frequency channel if it wasn't for Espeon. She's the one who encouraged me to make it. But the Discord thing, having a hub for my brand, essentially, it's just not me. It's not who I am. And I'm glad you guys are in it. I'm glad you guys use it and like it. But it's just not... It doesn't fit with my personality. But I'm glad you guys enjoy it. So, okay, here we go. RollerCoaster Tycoon 3 Complete Edition.
It's time for the RollerCoaster Tycoon 3 Complete Edition review for the Nintendo Switch. I remember when I first saw a commercial for Platinum back in 2006 for the PC. One of the taglines was, "Now you can ride the rides."
Oh, okay.
I was instantly hooked. You can build your own theme park and ride the rides in first-person mode? Sign me up. Fast forward nearly 2 decades, and now there's a port on the Switch? Oh!
Heck yes!
As the title says, the Complete Edition includes both expansion packs, which means you have access to water park and zookeeping assets and elements. It also has an HD touch-up and widescreen aspect ratio. This game has many different features and elements that I could talk about, but I'm only going to focus on a few in detail, otherwise this review could be half an hour long or more. Also, this review isn't a comparison between the Complete Edition and Platinum. I will only be focusing on what's available with the Complete Edition. When you first begin, you have access to a handful of parks, each with their own overall theme. Many of the parks are locked though, and you'll need to reach certain goals within the first available parks to unlock them. When you first enter a park, you'll be given different tiers of objectives to hit. You honestly don't have to complete them, but you won't be able to unlock the other parks if you don't. Plus, hitting the objectives can earn you more features within the park you're currently working on. Most of the park will be empty when you begin, but there's usually a few pre-installed paths, shops, and rides. You can choose to either keep and work around them, but I don't think this is fun, as I want the park to be a blank slate when I begin. Customers, known as peeps, will already be in your park when you start, and if you delete assets and paths around them, they will usually stand still until a path is created near them, or you can tediously one by one pick them up and move them elsewhere. Depending on the park, you'll begin with a set amount of cash on hand so you can purchase and build park assets. If the park allows it, I find it best to take out a loan so you have more to work with. This game is basically a sandbox simulator hybrid. Yes, you're free to mostly build and design what you want, but you're also restricted to how much money you have, and figuring out how to spend and make money wisely can be a bit tricky. If you heavily focus on shops and vendors, you're not going to make much money, and your peeps will get bored and leave. On the flip side, if you neglect shops and only focus on building rides, your peeps will complain about the lack of vendors. It's a balancing act that's fun to figure out. Another element of keeping peeps happy is your park employees. You can and will need to hire specific employees, such as custodians and mechanics, to keep your park clean and running smoothly. It's cool how you can name your employees and train them to be more effective. It's always best, and actually really cheap to train them, because if you don't, they'll have a higher chance of quitting. The game is packed with analytical and financial data to help you determine what areas of improvement you need to focus on. Generally speaking, it's not too complicated to figure out what you need to do to attract more customers and keep them happy, but the tools and data are there, which helps with the overall understanding of your park operations. There's definitely a learning curve when it comes to the controls. Everything is menu-based, and using these menus can be tricky, even after several hours of gameplay. There are two main circular menus you'll use. The left side one is your main hub for everything. Here you can choose which types of rides to build, paths and vendors to place, and access your analytical and financial data. The right side menu is for specifics of a particular asset. Depending on what you're focusing on, let's say a ride, here you can choose how much to charge, view test result data, the paint job for the ride itself, and so on. Or like with shops, you can set the prices for each SKU the vendor sells, customize customer options, and even sync the settings for like-type shops, which is a huge welcome as matching all the prices and settings for each individual ice cream parlor would be tedious. The menus aren't necessarily difficult to navigate, but it's how you navigate is what makes it a challenge. The left and right menus are respectively controlled with the L and R buttons in combination with the analog stick. You have to hold down the L or R trigger and simultaneously position the stick in the corresponding direction of the menu you want to access, then let go to bring up a submenu. It feels clunky and definitely takes some getting used to, but at the same time, I'm not sure how it could be better, seeing how it was originally designed for mouse control. Building roller coasters is one of the main attractions in designing your park. You can choose pre-designed tracks, but I hardly ever do this as it's much more fun to design it yourself. When laying out pieces of track, the camera will center itself on where the next piece will go, and this can become problematic as I remember having full camera control on the PC, and only having the camera dead center on the next piece can limit your perception on how the track will look. You can swing the camera around and zoom in and out, but I wish you could control where to center the camera. It's programmed this way so that the next piece of track can be built with ease instead of you trying to reposition the cursor each time a piece of track is built. So I guess overall the auto-centered design is appreciated, but it can still feel awkward. Once you've built your coaster, you can ride it free of charge. This is a really cool feature and lets you enjoy your creation even further. You can ride almost every ride and attraction, which just increases the depth of gameplay. Even though the graphics have been upgraded to HD, specific assets still look blocky and just generally outdated. This is especially true for the peeps who even looked outdated back in the mid-aughts. One of my favorite features was building water parks. Designing pools, lounge areas, and water slides is really cool and adds more design depth to your parks. In addition, you can also include zoo elements. It's pretty cool how you have to select the right fencing type for specific animals, and like the water park, adds to just how much you can do to increase your park's aesthetic.
Lions and
if you really
buffalo in the same exhibit?
No.
No?
Oh, the buffalo was, I think it was like food or some kind of toy for them.
It's pretty cool how you have to select the right fence.
See, it looks like lions and then... Oh, I thought you had like a predator and prey in the same enclosure.
No, I don't.
Okay.
I think so.
Seem type for specific
No.
animals.
Oh, okay.
And like the water park.
But you can actually put, I think, like a fake buffalo in there for them to like maul.
Oh, okay. Wait, can you
to
put different animals in the same enclosure? And will they fight?
I don't think it'll let you.
Oh, okay.
Just how much you can do to increase your park's aesthetic and value. If you really want to get your creative juices flowing, you can enter sandbox mode where you're given access to a huge piece of land with unlimited funds. This mode is appreciated, but I honestly don't play this, as I like to play with specific restrictions and goals to hit. Still, the potential to create your perfect park is available. I think it's really cool this game is available on Switch, but to be completely honest, you'll probably have a more fun experience if you can play this on PC. The game is just not made for a console, and while the controls have been revamped for console play, using a mouse and keyboard is just objectively better. Still, it's not a bad game, nor is it poorly designed, and if you can get used to the controls, you'll have
This
a
looks
fun time
fun.
designing your dream parks. This game gets a 3.75 out of 5 with the title of good.
You remember what it is?
Oh, it's like a word search, right?
Yeah.
Not here. I see that. Not here.
Uh-huh.
um,
Not here.
I feel like I've solved this before. Oh man, I don't remember.
Okay, so nobody got it, and
Oh, really?
yeah, it's very cryptic. But so not here is like the hint's not here, and excuse me. There were some others that were like this, but if you look here, there's abbreviation.
Abbreviation. Oh.
So you're looking for an abbreviation of the game, and it's right here. Tears of the Kingdom.
That's pretty cryptic.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It was fun to make. And a lot of people thought the word search itself was the hint. And I'm like, no,
Oh.
it's not.
Watching that review, it reminded me, something I didn't like about the game was the transition between like day and evening to night. It's like super abrupt, and in the remaster, they didn't change that at all.
Yeah.
I kind of wish it was just like a gradual.
It depends on the level.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
some levels, like there's like a Halloween themed one, and it's like constant night or dusk. But then some, like the standard level, it's all day and hardly any night. But some of them are abrupt like that. Some of them are like half and half day, half
Okay.
night kind of thing.
Huh.
Because you definitely want some night because you can do fireworks
Yeah.
as the
Yeah.
attractions.
A park where like it's only night and dusk. That's like, that would be like a.
Or maybe not dusk, but it was like evening.
Right. Well, I'm just thinking like if that was a park in the real world, that would be like near one of the poles during like fall or winter. You know.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Did I watch the trailer for the new Joker movie? No, I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah.
Like the sequel to the
Yeah.
Walking Phoenix one?
Yep.
Oh, I gotta see it now. I did watch the first episode of the Fallout series on Amazon.
Oh,
Prime.
how'd you like it?
I liked it.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, it's I've only played Fallout 4, of course, but I also read that they take elements from like Fallout 3, 4, and New Vegas and put it together. So I saw a lot of 4 references, but a lot of references that I probably didn't understand because they're from other games. But it looks really good.
I've only seen the like a small. I've seen the trailer for that and like a small segment of a scene, and it looked kind of. I didn't really like it.
Oh.
It looked kind of cheesy and like bleh to me.
Oh.
But I haven't played the game, so
Oh.
maybe I'm missing some stuff. I don't know. I've heard good things and bad things about it. Like,
yeah. I think it's fine right now. I've only seen one episode, But
Is the whole season out, or are they just doing one episode a week?
no, there's more than one because it said go to episode 2, and I had to do something else. Sometimes, so I don't know if the whole season's out yet.
Okay. I did like the Joker movie, so I'll probably watch the sequel too.
I really like Joaquin Phoenix as a
actor.
I think the first time I really saw him in anything was Signs, and I love the movie Signs. It gets a lot of hate, but I love the movie Signs. But then Joaquin Phoenix.
What other
is just
movies
really
is he in? I only know him from
He's also
Signs.
in The Village.
He's in The Village too?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Gladiator. He was the
emperor.
Right.
Yep.
Apparently he's in a movie called Her, which I think he won an Oscar for.
I've heard of that movie. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but he's very good. All right, let's get to the next game review.
Man, we're really catching up, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I
It's
love this song. The song from the intro. Oh my gosh.
It's time for the Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom review for the Nintendo Switch. Was anyone else surprised by the original teaser trailer for this game back in 2019? For a bit, I thought it was another DLC pack for Breath of the Wild, but I'm glad it turned out to be a whole new adventure, and one that I hoped could have been released sooner than it did. But no matter, it's finally here, so let's get into it.
I love
game
that
begins
aspect
with Link
about the game.
escorting Zelda-
I think that's a new feature where if you dive into a pool of water from like way high up, like it sprinkle like a whole bunch of water will sprinkle down.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so cool. The sound effect is really good too.
Yeah.
Through ancient passageways deep beneath Hyrule Castle. After significant story events take place, Link awakens in an unfamiliar location and notices that his right arm and hand have been replaced. Moments later, you realize that you're standing on sky islands floating miles above Hyrule. As you traverse through, you will eventually gain special abilities, thanks in part to your new arm. These abilities are Ultra Hand, where you're able to grab, levitate, and combine virtually any interactable item together, allowing for crazy crafting potential. Fuse, where you're able to fuse almost any item to your weapon or shield, which, depending on the item, can increase damage output or give Link a special advantage in battle. Ascend, which lets Link swim vertically up through any area or platform that will allow Link to stand up or tread water through the other side, and Recall, where you can target any type of movable item and reverse its exact immediate movement for a short time. Once you've acquired these abilities, you're free to leave this island and skydive to the surface. Those who have played Breath of the Wild will be familiar with this game's non-linear style. After you leave the initial Sky Island, you're basically free to do whatever you want and explore anywhere you'd like to go. There are a few restrictions that need to be unlocked by interacting with main quest NPCs, but 99% of what there is to do is within your grasp. A few in-game years have passed since the events in the first game, and you can see this in some of the NPCs, but in specific enemies as well. For instance, Bokoblins and Stone Taluses use the Fusion Dance to become a Battle Talus. Many enemies have a head swipe attack, in which they'll use their newly grown horns to attack Link with. It also appeared like enemies' endurance levels increased, as it seemed to take more of an effort to stagger them.
That's why they've grown horns, is because so much time has passed that they've grown horns. Okay. I didn't even think of that.
These last 2 points, as it was refreshing to fight the same, or at least similar enemies in new ways. New monsters have entered Hyrule, though, to make exploration and combat more challenging.
Big Chungus.
One new Leviathan is the Gleeok, an elemental-based three-headed dragon that can pack a serious punch. Unless you're extremely skilled, it's best to steer clear of these beasts in the beginning until you're better prepared. I've heard complaints about the fact that Nintendo decided to stick with the weapon and shield durability mechanic. I honestly don't mind it, as it forces you to consistently search out newer and better gear. However, the fact that you're now able to fuse just about anything to your weapons and shields is a fantastic idea. Not only do you still need to search for gear, you can also create some deadly weapons by combining drop monster parts to them. Even your shield can be turned into a weapon if you attach the correct part. Testing out different items to see how they can be advantageous to you is fun and interesting, and it fuels your fire to go hunting for other enemies you've yet to encounter. The Ultra Hand ability is pretty crazy. Now personally, I'm not super creative when it comes to DIY, but figuring out what you can build and have it work is not only easy, but enticing as there's very few limitations to what you can create. I also highly appreciated the fact that the game was not designed in a way where it heavily relied on using Ultra Hand, but instead, all of the abilities complement the core gameplay extremely well. The Ascend ability is a fantastic power. There are many caves and underground areas to explore, and instead of tedious backtracking, you create your own exit, and within seconds are out and ready to continue onward.
That's
It's
one of my
also quite
favorite
handy
features
for
of
reaching
the whole
areas when you
game.
need
It's
to
so
quickly
well
escape.
designed.
I probably use Recall the least of the abilities, but it's still very handy in the right moment. Like in Breath of the Wild, shrines return all around Hyrule, but they're not in the same place as in the previous game. Once you step inside, you'll need to get to the end of the shrine by completing puzzles or battling your way through. Once finished, you'll be rewarded with a Light of Blessing. Collect 4 to exchange them for either a heart container or stamina vessel. I always chose a stamina vessel as I feel it provides more value in the beginning of the game. I really dislike how Link's stamina can run out so fast when you first start, so obtaining stamina vessels quickly was always on my mind. Taking a Skyward Sword approach, the sky is littered with floating islands, all waiting for you to explore them. Some don't have much for you to do, but many contain puzzles to hidden treasure, and others have enemies ranging from pushovers to legitimate threats. It's so much fun finding out what each island has in store for you, but part of the fun is figuring out how to get to each one.
Oh,
Some
that's
are
cool.
relatively close to the ground, while others are way up there, and you'll need to think creatively to reach them. The Sky Islands are fun to explore, but Nintendo somehow kept secret the biggest hidden gem in the game. Carved into the earth in various places throughout the map are chasms, and once you take the plunge, you are welcomed into the depths, a dark wilderness filled with mystery, mayhem, and moolah. When you first descend, you'll be surrounded by darkness, with only flickers of light in the distance. Fortunately, there are specific items you can use to help brighten your way, and when you encounter a light route, it will dispel the darkness in the immediate area. The depths are covered in gloom, a cursed substance plaguing the ground and walls. If you come in contact with gloom long enough, your maximum health will begin to drop. Fortunately, light roots dispel the curse, as well as natural light from the surface. The depths are incredibly fun to explore, and I'm so glad Nintendo not only made the depths a thing, but that they kept it a secret. It's one of the best in-game surprises in any video game.
It's
Graphically,
so
the
much,
game
it was
is
so
the
much
same as
fun
its predecessor,
exploring.
but that's definitely not a bad thing. What's really impressive is the fact that not only can you skydive to the surface without any interruption, but you can continue into the depths without
no
any
loading
delays.
screens either.
Yeah.
Like,
Not once did I
it's so
experience
cool.
any frame rate dips or full-on pauses, which is quite impressive. The controls are the same as in Breath of the Wild, save for the fact that accessing your abilities is now done with the L button instead of pressing up on the D-pad. Pressing and holding up opens your inventory in a quick select menu. Anything that you're able to build with and or fuse to your weapons and shields is in this menu. This is extremely convenient and would seriously break the gameplay continuity if it wasn't a feature. One game mechanic that I really appreciated was that you could now drop any weapon or shield from your quick select menu after you opened up a chest that contained a piece of gear that you already had full inventory on. No longer did you have to put the item back, close the chest, open up your inventory, drop an item, then reopen the chest. It would have been really annoying to not have this feature, and is highly appreciated that it's here. Familiar, excellent music is present in certain locations of the game, but you'll also enjoy the new songs when you hear them. There's more voice acting in this game than Breath of the Wild, and I think it still works for a Zelda game, although Link doesn't talk, which I appreciate. There's more depth to the story, and it's exciting when you uncover more of it as you play through. Breath of the Wild had many outfits and clothing pieces for Link to wear, and Tears is no different. Most of the ones you found in Breath of the Wild are now either located in different areas or have to be obtained in a different manner, but Tears has a healthy dosage of new outfits, each with their own specific trait. The Breath of the Wild DLC outfits are already here, and finding them is a treasure in and of itself. There is a crazy amount of things to do in this game, not only because of the added exploration of the Sky Islands and the depths, but the surface has so many new quests and locations to explore. Even if you're already familiar with the map layout, it hardly matters.
Whoa, you can
as
pick
new
that up while you're in
NPCs
air?
and
Oh, that's
present,
so cool.
as well as
Same
new
with,
structures
star
in
fragments.
various locations.
Wow.
Because there's so much to do and explore, it can be difficult to stay on track. For example, I was talking to this NPC, and he told me to talk to another NPC for a side quest not too far away. After speaking with him, I started heading out, but oh look, there's a Korok who needs help getting to his friend. Okay, I'll just launch him over to his campsite and collect my reward. Alright, let's head back, but... Oh wait, there's a tower in the distance. I want to go check that out first. Okay, I'm almost there, but oh look, what's that pattern on the ground? Better go investigate. Oh wait, there's a stone tower nearby. I bet it's hiding some treasure. And yeah, this was what my first playthrough was like for a huge portion of the game. It was very rare of me to go from point A to point B without stopping multiple times or getting sidetracked into something else. Actual temples return as opposed to divine beasts in the previous game. I thought this was a nice touch, however they didn't play too much like a traditional temple or dungeon. However, seeing how this is not a traditional Zelda game, it's okay it was like this. They're fun to figure out, but I guess I wish they were a bit larger in scale, thereby completing them would take longer to do. The boss fights of the temples ranged from easy to challenging, which is better than having them all be near the same difficulty level. Like the temples themselves, I just wish there were more of them. However, I guess some of the monsters you fight throughout Hyrule could count as a boss fight, or at least a mini-boss. Nintendo raised the bar again. The amount of content jam-packed into this game is staggering, and almost all of it is readily accessible from the beginning. The new abilities are quite enjoyable, and although they're a core feature, I'm so relieved they complement the overall gameplay instead of being the main focus. It took me around 100 hours to beat the game, and I didn't even come close to exploring everything or completing the vast amount of side quests. There were only a few things I wish were different, and my main complaint is that there's a slight delay when trying to select an ability. But with everything available, everything there is to do, the level of freedom you have at your disposal, not only in terms of exploration, but also in DIY designs for your builds, and the vast world to explore on 3 different levels, this is a no-brainer. If you enjoyed Breath of the Wild, you should have absolutely no doubts about Tears of the Kingdom. This game gets a 5 out of 5 with the title of Monumentally and Supremely Perfect.
Wait, I forgot. Did you give that score to Mario Galaxy 2?
Uh-huh.
That's right. Okay,
Those are
that's the only game.
Only
of
2
the
games
other
so far.
Okay.
Yep. Having the Fierce Deity outfit and his, I call it the DNA sword, the double helix sword, it just really makes me want some kind of prequel or sequel for Majora's Mask. I want that so badly. What do you think? What do you think they're gonna do for the next Zelda? Because you know they're working on it right now.
I hope, as much as I absolutely love Tears of the Kingdom, I really hope it's not going to be in the same style. That's just what I hope. I'm not sure what they're going to do though, because Tears of the Kingdom sold so well. Mm-hmm. You know,
I want a new map. I want a new Zelda entirely.
Yeah, I want a new Zelda, totally new. That's one of the things I really love about Zelda is how different each of the games are. Like all of them have kind of their own
flavor.
Own flavor, yeah. Their own style. Yeah, so I hope the new one is going to be unique.
Yep. Viddies, what would the prequel to Majora's Mask be like? Yeah, what I mean is I would like an origin story for Majora's Mask and the Fierce Deity Link. I think that'd be really cool. I don't know how they would do it, because if they're going to go by the official timeline, which is not really a thing anymore, it would have to be somewhere kind of probably in the beginning after Skyward Sword. And Minish Cap.
Yeah, Josh, man, Tears of the Kingdom didn't win Game of the Year, which that was kind of surprising for me that there was a game that was even better than this, apparently. I haven't played Baldur's Gate 3, but I know Espeon has. But I have heard really, really good things about that game.
Yep. Do I feel like Tears of the Kingdom should have won Game of the Year? That's not for me to say, because I haven't really played really any of the others that were in line for Game of the Year. Plus, I really don't care what games win it. It has no effect on me. It's just what enjoyment do I get out of it? That's all that matters.
Tears of the Kingdom won in my heart.
In your
So that's all that matters.
Okay. Okay, let's get to the next one.
It's time for the Windbound review for the Nintendo Switch. I don't usually pre-order games unless I'm convinced it will be worth the risk, and this just happened to be one of those games. Now, I didn't think it would be a phenomenal gaming experience, but it looked fun enough. Was it able to tread the waters, or did it drown? Let's find out. Before I dive into it, I just need to preface by saying I experienced the base game before the current free DLC and patches came out. However, because this review will showcase the latest content, I will be judging it with the DLC accordingly. You play as an islander named Kara, who is seen battling winds and huge ocean swells with her tribe. After almost drowning, she awakens in a mysterious place with a huge bright vortex beckoning her. Once she passes through, she wakes up on an island with only her clothing and knife, and it's up to you to help her figure out what happened to her people. This is a procedurally generated survival adventure game. As you begin to explore, you'll find basic resources you can collect, such as rocks, thick grass, and sticks. Depending on the island, and map for that matter, that was generated for your playthrough, you'll find other resources, wildlife, and enemies. There are 5 levels in the entire game, but getting to the next level is dependent on your ability to be resourceful. In each level, you'll need to first find and activate 3 beacons, each one on a different island scattered throughout the map, then make your way to a final island where you're able to proceed to the next level.
That looks cool.
You could swim to each island, but this is inefficient.
Inefficient?
Crafting a boat is one of the first objectives.
I was wondering if you would catch that.
I like how the text kind of like goes by.
Inefficient.
Alright.
Where you're able to proceed to the next level. You could swim to each island, but this is inefficient. Crafting a boat is one of the first objectives you'll need to accomplish. You'll start with a basic rowboat, but you'll eventually be able to build bigger and faster seacraft. Each level is basically a large archipelago, but only certain islands are beneficial to you. Some are just rocks sticking out of the water, while the ones you'll actually want to travel to contain valuable resources. Acquiring specific resources won't be readily available until you construct certain tools, and hunting or battling is easier if you've crafted the right weapons. Kara doesn't have a crafting list or guide. Instead, new recipes will become available when specific resources are gathered. I'm 50-50 on whether I like this. On one hand, having a list or book to let me know what I can potentially make from the beginning is beneficial in that I don't have to blindly collect resources in the hopes of being able to craft something helpful. On the other hand, I suppose it makes it more realistic in that Kara doesn't know what is craftable until she gathers specific resources. I guess not knowing is actually better because it complements the survival aesthetic. Below Kara's health meter is a stamina meter, and her maximum stamina will continue to drop due to her level of hunger. Finding food and hunting is crucial to your survival. Not only can you gain meat off kills, but certain enemies can drop rare resources, which you can then turn into valuable items. Staving off hunger is a constant threat, and cooking meat is more beneficial to your health and stamina than eating it raw.
Bye-bye.
You can also find edible, ready-to-eat vegetation, but again, cooking them can lead to better results. After you complete a level, you'll be transported to an area where you're able to exchange previously found sea shards for unique upgrades, which can be special weapons or character bonuses. You're only able to choose one upgrade at a time, so choose wisely. Before starting a new game, you can choose which difficulty you'd like to play on. In Adventure Mode, if you die, you'll retain all your resources, items, and boats, but you'll have to start the entire level over again. Even if you've found and activated all 3 beacons, if you haven't actually proceeded to the next level and die, you will have to restart the whole level. And because this is a procedurally generated game, the new map you start up in will be completely different. Now, I highly enjoy games with random or procedurally generated levels, but believe me when I say that dying after you've spent around 2 hours island hopping and activating all 3 beacons is extremely frustrating. I have to do all that again? However, this would be even worse if you played on a higher difficulty, where the penalty for death is losing a lot of your gear. The only silver lining of starting over is that you're able to change your special upgrade if you'd like. The graphics look pretty good, however there were some pop-ins and outs on specific assets when getting closer to an island. There were also quite a few graphical glitches throughout, like textures not being able to render instantly. Moving and interacting as Kara isn't difficult, but the menu-based controls take a bit to get used to in certain situations. Like here, I'm rifling through my items between two inventory menus, and if I highlight the right-sided menu by pressing the R button, I instinctively press the L button to switch back, but no, I have to press R again. I also didn't like that the cursor within a menu would default to the far right cell once I've collected or moved an item into a different container. If I'm trying to sort my items by moving them, I would have to move the cursor from the far right back to the next item I want. This is just bad design. One of the biggest problems of the game is the stuttering frame rate. It seemed to happen at any time and was quite annoying when you were engaged in battle. Sometimes you'd get full-on pauses and have to wait for it to wake up. This just decreases the overall fun of the game, and it's disappointing the devs haven't patched it as of this review. The music is a highlight, but also a lowlight. There's no music when you're exploring an island, only when you're sailing or nearing the end of a level. However, specific instruments begin to play once you get close to wildlife or an enemy. This was a pretty cool feature, and it can help you be aware of potential ambushes. The only thing I didn't really like was that the sailing song isn't that long, and it loops over and over, which can make it dull after hearing it so many times. The game has a handful of small to moderate negative points, but one positive is the DLC. Besides patches, new weapons, outfits, and fighting techniques are available, as well as encountering new enemies. A noticeable upside is that back in the base game, once you activated all 3 beacons, you could just head to the final island to proceed to the next level. Now there's a boss fight beginning on level 2 that you must defeat in order to progress. It's a really good thing 3 waves of updates and DLC have come through as of this review, because I remember the base game being kind of bland and empty. What you've mostly seen in this review so far was available in the base game, but the improvements and extras now available have enhanced the experience quite a bit. Windbound offers a fun experience exploring islands and sailing the open sea, all the while gradually uncovering an interesting story. I'm happy the DLC and bug fixes have increased the overall gameplay from the base game, however the devs seriously need to address the stuttering and at times pausing frame rate issues, as well as a few changes to make navigating inventory menus less frustrating. It's a fine game, but various aspects need to be polished in order for it to become great. Overall, if you enjoy survivor crafting adventures, you should give Windbound a try. This game gets a 3.5 out of 5 with the title of good.
I kind of have there's something I noticed that you did in that review that I kind of want to see more of that in your future reviews. Is after you were finished with like one segment of like maybe it was a paragraph or something, you paused your script and you like raised the volume of the music to play for like a couple seconds.
Yep.
I feel like if you did that like a couple more times in your reviews to kind of break up segments, it might help with the pacing of it.
Yeah, I have thought of that too, and that's a reason why I did it there. Finding the right time for it, the tone of the review needs to work as well. Because the example there, it was, I was all done with all the bullet points, and now I'm going to give you a summary.
Right.
I don't know, it wouldn't really work when I'm going from gameplay to graphics to controls, because they're all kind of in the same boat.
Boat.
So, but yes, I definitely agree.
I know. I noticed. What is it called? Did you know Gaming does that a lot? If you ever watch them. Yeah, like whenever they move on to facts for like a different game, I notice they do that a lot.
It's a bridge. Robert Roy 92. Hello from Mexico. Well, hello. I don't think I've seen you in the chat before.
Hola.
I don't know if you are a long-time subscriber or not, but welcome to the stream. apparently Jack I don't know where Jack lives, but apparently when he left, it was 2:17 in the morning
Oh,
for him. So he's way over there. And Viddies says it was for him. It's about almost 11:30 for him. So
270. So I
in Europe somewhere.
yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Europe somewhere, or maybe like I don't know.
All right, let's get on to the next one. Captain Toad.
Viddy says he's from Australia.
Oh.
An Aussie.
AM 11. Oh, it's like almost noon for you. Oh, okay. Very cool.
It's time for the Captain Toad Treasure Tracker review for the Wii U. Yes, I am aware of the Switch version of this game and that it has more content to offer, but I just decided to review the original. Is it worth its weight in gold? Let's find out. As I'm writing this review, I believe this will be one of my shortest reviews due to the content quantity offered in this title. Toad stars in his own game, which was actually based on a minigame within Super Mario 3D World. Toad isn't the only playable character though, as a healthy amount of levels star Toadette. There is a story to this game, but it's pretty basic, and I honestly don't need to give a synopsis. The level selections are in book form, with 3 chapters consisting of a little over 50 levels total. There are also bonus levels unrelated to the main story of the game. The point of each level is to guide Toad through obstacles and evade enemies, all the while gathering 3 diamonds hidden throughout, and eventually to the single power star. The catch is, you cannot jump and will instead have to find the correct path to take to reach the power star. Toad can defeat enemies by jumping on their head or throwing turnips or other enemies at one another, but battling isn't the core objective and is usually optional for most levels. The level itself is the main puzzle, and you'll have to work with controlling Toad and the camera almost simultaneously. You're able to freely rotate the camera 360 degrees, as well as being able to tilt it fairly far. The camera never follows Toad, so it's up to you to angle the camera so you can not only see Toad, but possible secret paths and areas of each level. Most diamonds aren't too difficult to retrieve, however some take a bit of thinking power to figure out. When you complete a level, you'll see your diamonds you collected, plus, if you are able to accomplish the bonus task within each specific level, you'll get a checkmark next to that objective. The bonus task isn't revealed until you complete the level, and it's fun trying to figure out what it could be when you first start. Collecting every diamond isn't necessary, but specific levels are locked, and you won't be able to proceed with the story until you acquire enough. The graphics look identical to Super Mario 3D World, and that's because it's running on the same game engine. Nothing to complain about here. The controls are fairly basic, and that's a good thing. This type of game doesn't need complicated controls. You can zoom in and out on Toad, however I wish there was a medium shot option. You either get a close-up or a wide shot, and having a medium shot could have been helpful in certain situations, but overall, not having it didn't cripple the game.
Apparently the Switch
Some
version
levels change
has the
things up
medium
by
shot.
allowing you to go into first-person mode and shoot turnips around the area. Just like Super Mario 3D World, some levels allow for the touchscreen to be used in the case of moving around platforms or spinning your finger around to have your character adjust valves. The music has that charmy Mario feel to it, which, although expected, is still pleasant to hear. There are a few boss fights, levels that feature a boss in where the main focus is navigating through the level, but with the added pressure of a huge enemy attacking. They're pretty fun, and my only complaint is that there were too few of them. The levels don't really start to get difficult until the latter half of Chapter 2. Some can get quite frustrating, but it's nice the whole game isn't a cakewalk. Amiibo functionality is available, and while I don't have a Toad amiibo to test out, you can use other amiibo to gain extra lives, which were quite useful near the end of the game. Part of the bonus content was surprisingly creative and fun. If you have save data of Super Mario 3D World, you could venture through certain levels of the game as Toad. Unfortunately, you couldn't become Cat Toad, but the levels have been altered a bit so that Toad and his lack of jumping can get through. There's a large assortment of these levels, and helps increase the overall fun the game offers. While not a huge game by most standards, Captain Toad Treasure Tracker offers around 4 to 6 hours of main story gameplay, and you can get more out of it with the bonus content, and even more still if you're dedicated enough to find all the diamonds and complete every bonus task. The Mario charm is here, but the Toads are the heroes, and I'd say this game is worth it if you can get it for under $20. What started as a mini-game is now a fun, full game on its own. This game gets a 3.75 out of 5 with the title of Good.
Do you own the Switch version?
Nope.
Oh yeah, this. I remember what this one is.
I don't think it is, but I feel like Treasure Tracker would be really good on the 3DS.
I feel like there was like a 3DS port of that game.
You know,
I might be wrong, but I'm like 50% sure it did come out.
You know, a game I wish would come to the Switch, like Virtual Console, is N+.
Yeah,
That'd be so fun.
that game is good.
For those of you who don't know, it's this basic 2D ninja game, basically. And,
It's a 2D platformer.
2D platformer. Yeah. You're a ninja, and it's just really fun.
It's like pure platforming.
Mm-hmm.
Like no fluff, pretty much no story. It's just platforming.
Yep.
You can make your own levels too, which was really fun.
Oh, it did have a 3DS version. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Nintendo needs to add GameCube games to Switch Online. I don't think they're going to do it. I agree. I wish that would happen because one, it's really cool, and two, it'll drive the GameCube prices down so I can pick up some that I've been wanting to get. They're just too expensive right now. But I hope they do. Maybe with the Switch's successor. And by the way, do you think the Switch's successor is going to be launched in Q4? I heard there was a delay with it, that it's not going to be until next year.
Yeah, well, I don't really know. Do you know what their big holiday game is going to be this year?
No.
Yeah.
No, they haven't said anything.
Yeah, so that's kind of making me think it might release this holiday.
Metroid Prime 4.
Oh, man,
Please.
I hope so.
I don't think it will. It's not going to be their main game. Because, well, one, they've got Retro working on it.
Do you guys know what game they're going to release for, like, the holiday season? Because I just can't... Nothing comes up in
I don't think they've said it yet. I think it's... I don't know if it's going to be a Mario game. Although Odyssey 2 would be kind of cool.
I'm kind of...
Definitely not Zelda.
I'm kind of, like, flabbergasted that they never had DLC for Mario Odyssey. You know?
Yeah.
That... I don't know. Everyone loved that game, and I feel like there must have been, like, some more ideas of levels they could have done.
Yeah. We did not get a true Nintendo Direct yet. I mean, we got the partner showcase, but we haven't had a true one this year. And last year they had one in February, so I thought this February we're going to have one, but we didn't. And sometimes they have one in April, so maybe this month. But if they don't have one this month, it's going to be June, during the time that E3 used to take place, because apparently it doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, Luigi's Mansion 2 Remake is coming out this year. I don't know when. And then Paper Mario as well, but other than that video, I can't think of anything else they're releasing this year.
If they do release it this like November before Black Friday, Prime 4 is not. If Prime 4 releases with it, it's not going to be the marquee game, because that franchise is kind of polarizing. Like, I love it, so many other people do, but I think Nintendo sees it as like it's only hardcore for this group of people.
Yeah.
They want a whole
game. Their Christmas game is always a game, or holiday game or whatever. It's always a game that like everyone can play. Mm-hmm. It's not like a hardcore game like a Metroid or like a Fire Emblem game.
F-Zero. It's gonna be F-Zero.
Oh man. Oh yeah. Do you think that Metroid Prime 4 is going to be a cross-platform game?
Yes, definitely.
Think so?
Yeah. All the people who got a Switch, I bet there's people who got a Switch just for the anticipation of Metroid Prime 4. And it comes out on the successor only? No, come on.
Yeah, they probably would lose a lot of sales if it was only on the successor.
Well, yeah, because when the new console launches, there's going to be people who can't get a hold of it.
Yeah. And there's already like millions of people with a Switch that are potential customers.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Okay. Well, I kind of want to prevent myself from watching this again, but we'll do it. Here we go.
It's time for the Preventive Strike review for the Nintendo Switch. This was one of those games I found deep within the great deals section on the Nintendo eShop. I can't remember for sure, but I believe I bought it for $1.09. And, well, let's just say I got what I paid for. This is an angled top-down arcade-style shooter. You pilot a military helicopter and take on waves of enemies, all the while trying to stay alive and reach the end of the level. I know I said in my last review of Captain Toad Treasure Tracker that I thought that would be one of my shortest reviews, but as you can tell by the length of this video, this one will be even shorter. There's a whopping 4 levels you can play, but unlocking each one is easier.
Was that a
said than
fidget
done.
spinner?
The game is simply brutal.
I
and
think
is
it was a
probably
drone.
Up there in my top.
It looked like a fidget spinner.
Oh, yeah.
There's a whopping 4
See,
levels
wait.
by the length of this video.
yeah, there it is,
This
see?
one will be
It's a
even
drone, but yeah.
There's a
let's look
whopping 4 levels you can play, but unlocking each one is easier said than done. The game is simply brutal, and is probably up there in my top 5 most difficult games I've ever played. Now, just because a game is hard doesn't make it bad, but the way it was designed makes it unnecessarily difficult and borderline unfair. First of all, you have 1 life. That's it. If you die once, you go back to the beginning of the level. Fortunately, it's not a gauntlet where dying sends you back to level 1.
Frame rate
Starting the
sucks.
level is almost instant, and you have unlimited tries. But that's about all the leeway the game gives you. The onslaught of attacks against you is insane. It's impossible to dodge every projectile, and you will get hit. Now, I'm not expecting a perfect run where your health never drops, but the game design cripples the player in its basic gameplay, and one of 5 things needs to change in order for the player to feel like they actually have a chance at success. 1, the playing field needs to be larger, so the camera needs to zoom out some. Because there's so many bullets and missiles flying at you in this relatively small space, you can't help but get hit. 2, temporary special power-ups would be a huge welcome. You can acquire homing and airstrike missiles, as well as temporary shields you keep in your inventory for later use, but these are few and far between, and sometimes are completely out of your
That's
reach, and it's
bull.
justifiable to say special weapons and
That one
abilities
too.
to give you an advantage is desperately needed. 3, more health pickups throughout each level needs to be a thing. 4, either speed up the helicopter or reduce its size or hurt box by just a bit, or 5, remove 20% of all enemies in a level. Heck, I'd even settle for 10%. There's just too many. I'm not asking for all 5 changes, just give me 1 so I'm not going crazy. The graphics look pretty good, and flying the helicopter is easy, but that's the only thing easy about this game. The music definitely fits the theme, but it's generic and
There's
forgettable.
music? I can't even hear
Sometimes
it.
I'd get camera glitches during a huge explosion, and the sound design
I
needs to
turned
be
it down.
fixed when
Oh.
selecting restart, as
okay.
it would immediately ramp up once selected. Even though there's only 4 levels,
Yeah.
well, there might be 5 since there's this empty space within the level selector. I'm not sure you'd want to play anymore, as they get progressively more difficult and frustrating. It took me 10 tries to beat level 1, 18 for level 2, 26 for level 3, and unfortunately, after about an hour of trying, I just can't beat level 4. If you're dedicated, or crazy enough, no offense, to attempt, you can get your name on the top 10 leaderboard if you score enough points, but this requires beating all 4 levels, which I don't have the urge to do so. Preventive Strike is an unnecessarily tough game that, while is inspired from the NES days of game difficulty and genre, I'd argue most gamers will find it more frustrating than fun. I give credit to the one guy who made the game, but in order for it to appeal to a larger audience, changes need to be made, and I'd start with my previously stated suggestions. This game gets a 1.75 out of 5 with the title of bad.
Bionicle had a better score than that game. I think I figured out another way they could have made the game better. I noticed a lot of projectiles in that game or projectiles that were coming at you were like homing projectiles, and you almost never see that in those kind of shmup games.
Yeah, that's true.
Survive, die, cry. Oh yeah, I know what this is. Oh, I love the live scene in this one.
Yeah, it was fun to make.
Dark Souls.
What is a really difficult game besides the Dark? Forget the Dark Souls Elden Ring franchise. Okay, what's one game that's really difficult but fair that you've played?
What's it called? Hollow Knight is a pretty tough game, and it's really fun. It's probably the best Metroidvania game I've ever played.
Okay. I was gonna say maybe Mega Man.
Oh,
Retro Mega Man.
I've played the first one, but maybe I've said this before. I have the Legacy Collection on Steam, which has the first 6 games. But when I played it at the time, there was like an input delay for that game.
Oh.
So maybe like a fifth or a quarter of a second of input delay, and so it was like almost impossible to play because you need like instant instant control.
Oh, okay.
It was really annoying.
I would say it's probably not one of the hardest games I've played, but Mega Man X can be really difficult, especially if you don't have the right weapons. But there's lots of health areas that you can get, and it's really fun. I saw somebody, Darren Logue. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, I've heard. Let's see, Nick Ray. I've heard the Shin Megami Tensei games are pretty hard, but I've never played them.
Nick Ray.
Oh, there was a game called Celeste. That's like a 2D platformer game. That game, especially in the later levels, and the secret levels after you beat the game for the first time, that game can be brutally difficult. But it's actually kind of an interesting. The way you can like change the difficulty is like really interesting. I've never seen it before in a game. Is to make it easier, you can like there's like a slider to slow down the game speed.
Oh.
Yeah. So like you can make it like maybe 3 or 4 times slower than the actual speed. So you know you don't have
it better.
Yeah, you process it better. You have more time to react and to do the inputs. I never slowed down the game at all.
Never.
And I beat the whole game.
Never, huh?
Nope, never.
Oh.
I'm just that good.
Okay.
It's either I'm just that good or I'm just that insane. So
I'd say the latter.
probably, yeah.
All right. Speaking of insane, let's get to this insane game. Here we go.
Caution! This is an M-rated game, so the Magical Chicken insists that viewer discretion is advised.
It's time for the Dark Souls Remastered review for the Nintendo Switch. I remember becoming aware of the Dark Souls franchise way after the first game's release. I didn't have too much interest since they were on consoles I didn't own, and my PC at the time couldn't handle it. When this released on Switch, my brother picked it up first and really wanted me to play it after him. How did it fare? Let's find out. After you create your character and decide your class, you begin in a desolate asylum structured to hold the undead. That's you. The basic plot of the game is your character is on a pilgrimage to stop the world from being ushered into an age of darkness. There's more to it, but not necessary to reveal here. Just know your character and all humans are afflicted with the Dark Sign curse, which is what makes them undead. The curse brings you back to life once you die, but you become hollow. Basically, you look like a zombie but still have your wits about you. There are disadvantages to being hollow, which we'll discuss later. Once you escape the prison, you are brought to the main
Wait,
game
did you say
world known as
disadvantages
Mordor,
or
and it's
advantages?
pretty much up to you to figure out where to go. There are disadvantages to being hollow, which we'll discuss later. Once you escape the prison, you are brought to the main game world known as Lordran, and it's pretty much up to you to figure out where to go. While there are a handful of NPCs to sort of guide you, you're basically on your own. Picking your class in the beginning doesn't necessarily mean you have to stay with it. The main difference in choosing one or another determines your starting stats and equipment. For every FromSoft game I've played, I generally like to be a high damage melee tank, but just because that's my preferred playstyle doesn't mean I can't access spells. You just have to have high enough stats to perform them. There are some pretty awesome spells out there, but just know that I prefer to keep things simple with a sword and shield, as you will see throughout this review. This game doesn't request player discipline, it demands it. Think you can just go and haphazardly take on most enemies one after another? Think again. The difficulty of this game is downright brutal and punishing from start to finish. It doesn't matter if you have the best weapons and armor. If you have poor judgment and timing, you will pay for it. One of the keys to the game's difficulty is that nearly every physical action you take eats up a portion of your stamina. You can't just go swords a-blazing into a pool of enemies. If you run out of stamina, you're basically a sitting duck for a short moment. Even guarding against attacks depletes your stamina, so you can't just sit back and let your shield absorb everything, nor can you infinitely roll out of the way. You have to critically think on what the best strategy for engagement will be. The AI is not shy in attacking back or protecting themselves from you. Quickly figuring out what to do while staying vigilant of your surroundings is crucial to your success. Obtaining new weapons and gear is always a treat, but unlike most games, the weight of everything you equip can have an effect on your character's movement. A huge weapon can slow you down, and if you bulk yourself
not a guaranteed
up,
drop,
you have good
right?
armor stats, but you can't run very fast, and your dodge...
I want to say, for those of you who have played Dark Souls or any Souls-like game, you'll know that finding the weapon that you want off a drop is never guaranteed. And the weapon that I just got here...
That's like super early in the game.
It's very early in the game, and the chances of getting that weapon are very low. And I really, really wanted to play this playthrough for the review with a Black Knight Greatsword. And if I didn't get it, I wasn't going to like restart or anything, but I was like, oh, please, please, please. And I got it first try, and it was just like, yes! I can play how I want to now.
Obtaining new weapons and gear is always a treat, but unlike most games, the weight of everything you equip can have an effect on your character's movement. A huge weapon can slow you down, and if you bulk yourself up, you'll have good armor stats, but you can't run very fast, and your dodge rolls become very slow and possibly inefficient. I like playing with fast rolls, but having mid rolls isn't that bad, as long as the attack and or armor rating is worth it. A guarantee for new players is you will die. A lot. Like I said earlier, you become hollow when you die, but if you use a humanity, which is an item pickup, you'll restore your humanness. Humanity is not too common to come across, and figuring out when to restore your humanity is a strategy in and of itself. You could stay hollow throughout the whole game, but there's a big advantage to being human. Boss battles are littered throughout the world, and it's not consistently easy to know when you're about to engage in one. Fortunately, if you are human, you can come across special messages on the ground which allow you to summon specific NPCs to help you in battle. You'll usually find these messages just before a boss fight, and if you want to make things easier for yourself, having them fight alongside you is a brief breath of fresh air. There's no in-game downside to having them assist you slay the baddies, and after a gauntlet of getting to the boss fight in general, a helpful NPC can be your own reward. Of course, there is the street cred of defeating a boss by yourself, but that's up to you on how much you care about that. Much of the game world is interconnected, and it's highly enjoyable and rewarding once you find shortcuts to previously explored areas. Scattered throughout are bonfires, which once lit and sat at, act as your save point. You'll be fully healed, however the catch is every non-boss enemy will be revived. You may come across a bonfire and activate it, but depending on your situation, you may not want to sit at it and just keep progressing. Every time you defeat an enemy, they'll drop souls, which is the currency in order to upgrade your character, as well as making purchases from merchants. A game mechanic of making sure you stay cautious everywhere you go is that if you die, you will lose all your souls. Fortunately, you can return to the spot you lost them and pick them up. The soul-crushing game mechanic, however, is if you die before you reach them, they are gone for good. The game gets progressively more difficult the more you explore. Some areas will not only test your patience, but also your sanity.
Oh, that was
In my
close.
first playthrough, I can't tell you how
I
frustrated
hated Sen's Fortress
was
my
with
first
everything.
playthrough.
It was a constant cycle of fight, die, lose souls, try to retrieve them, but die again. It was that weird downward spiral of depleting skill. The more I tried, the worse I became. But I'm so close to a bonfire. If I can just get past here, I'm home free. Please, I'm just trying to get out of here and...
Did you like the game?
Love it, but I hate it! Okay.
A lot of people can't understand what I actually said there. I can't remember what they think I said, but my response is, I love it, but I hate it.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I thought you said other than I hate it.
No, I say I love it, but I hate it.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Can you roll it back?
Yeah.
Well, not that far.
Fine.
Did you like the game?
Love it, but I hate it! Okay, that didn't really happen, but there was a point where I became so overwhelmed I turned the game off, packed the cartridge into the game case, and almost gave it back to Red. I waited a few days to cool off and then proceeded through. One of the reasons I got so mad was
I
not
hate
because
that.
of the game per se, but because of my own stupid mental block of getting used to the controls. Interactions are done with the B button instead of normally
should have had
with
more
A.
footage of you
Why
dying.
is it such a problem? Because pressing A
Why?
on its own makes you
'Cause
jump
that's-
backwards, which at
it's
a
Dark
minimum can
Souls.
become progressively more annoying the more
It's
you
fun
execute
to watch
here you
you
go.
it. But it can also
there it
cause
is.
accidental deaths if you're in the wrong place. You can't switch them, and for a good chunk of the game, I just couldn't get used to it. It's funny though, as I have Dark Souls 1 through 3, Bloodborne, and Elden Ring on PS4, and the physical button layout is the same as the Switch controller, but because interactions are completed using the X button, I have no problem with it. It's just the Switch button layout that messes me up, because I instinctively press A to interact with, but no, I have to get used to the B button. The game isn't necessarily open world, but it's not entirely linear either. There's a good handful of secret and optional areas, and hidden goodies to collect throughout the entire map. Speaking of map, there isn't one, which just adds to the difficulty on your first playthrough, as you have to remember
I
where
hate
you
that
are
whole
and where to
area.
go.
Yeah.
It's a
I
fairly
hate
long
it.
game, and each area has its own dark ambiance and horrors waiting to attack. Finding that next bonfire is such a relief, and it's one of the only breathers you get. In addition to AI enemies trying to kill you, real players can invade your game world and duel you for souls and humanity. This can only happen if you have your humanity currently restored. I've won a
Jeez.
few duels, but it seemed like most players who invaded were way above my level and could basically one-shot me. Just like NPCs, you could summon actual players to help you with boss fights. This is a really cool feature and just makes you wish you could co-op the whole game together. You can turn off online capabilities, but doing so will not allow you to summon other players or see their orange messages on the ground. These messages can be helpful and even funny, although
Try
some just like to
jumping.
troll, but I can't blame them for that. The severe difficulty is not a fault of the game, however there were a few downsides. One, although graphically it looks good, there was a handful of glitches throughout, mainly with pop-ins, which didn't hamper me personally, but it's still a problem. 2, the camera could fight you at times, and possibly even kill you if you weren't careful. And 3, even though the boss fights are exciting and fun, and the beautiful music greatly enhances the atmosphere and dread, some bosses are reused in different areas, which, it's not a horrible thing, but after you've defeated it, it no longer has the initial flair of your first encounter. But don't worry, while these negative points do exist, they don't deter much from the overall experience you'll get. The remastered version comes with the Artorias of the Abyss DLC, which is a nice welcome to expand your playthrough even further. Just take extra precautions, as the DLC can be more difficult than, dare I say, most of the base game, but conquering it has its own rewards. This game is not for the faint of heart. The punishing and at times borderline unfair gameplay can only be mastered with experience. The The majority of the game, though, is fun, and it beckons you to continue further, never knowing what you might encounter. It rewards patient, tactical players and never lets you get too comfortable. It can be a mentally exhausting experience, but with so much to offer in terms of playstyle, areas to explore, and items to collect, it succeeds in offering a rare balance of high difficulty but rewarding gameplay, and if you're up to the challenge, you should give it a try. This game gets a 4.5 out of 5 with the title of Epic.
Man,
Sit down, big chungus.
man, beating those guys for the first time was just
Yeah.
Euphoria.
Oh yeah, there's bloopers on this one.
Did you like the game?
Ow.
Man, you
I'm
just
trying
like
to throw it flat.
chucked it at me there.
Yeah, it's probably gonna
I'm
flip
tr-
around.
I'm trying.
Okay.
Did you like the game?
Oh, I
Oh no, that was good.
Oh, really?
That was good.
Sorry.
I'm trying to.
Eyes are watering now.
I'm trying to. I'm trying to go for cartoon physics where it just kind of hits you and then drops slowly.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm trying not to like blink or like.
I had to take off my glasses because I didn't want them scratched.
Uh-huh.
Did you like the game?
Oh, like you missed. I'm trying not to hit you too hard.
Did you like the game?
You missed.
Oh. Did you like the game?
Oh my gosh. I can't aim.
Our final shot worked pretty well, I think.
Yeah, I think it was fine. Somebody said, were you going to swap those camera angles in the skit edit? Yeah, the angled version was my original design, but I thought it looked better from a POV standpoint.
Can you scroll up to the previous comments? The game was originally planned to be titled Dark Race, but the name was decided against to avoid controversy. Yeah, I bet. Dark Race was suggested for its relationship to the Dark Sign player's character, but again
Wow.
discarded as the name was found to be profound English slang. Profound?
Huh.
I think profound. I think that's the wrong word, right? Whatever.
Yeah.
Dark Race. Yeah, that would have been an unfortunate name.
Yeah. Dean says, so far my Soulsborne experience consists of Dark Souls 1, 3, and Elden Ring. So far my favorite is Dark Souls 3.
Those are good games to.
I mean,
Yeah.
Dark Souls 2 is the worst, but it's still definitely playable.
Yeah.
And Bloodborne is just a whole new thing in of itself. It's really good.
Mm-hmm. Sekiro is probably one of my favorite games of all time, honestly. I think I like Dark Souls 3 and Elden Ring a little more, but like Sekiro is just it's like a masterpiece. Frequency, would you replay Dark Souls or not because of the fact that certain people would not play it because of the content? Plus, I don't like certain games that deal with very evil witchcraft.
I respect that. I still play it. It's not really a thing for me. Nick Ray says he thinks Sekiro is the middle finger to Souls fans. I don't understand the context. I haven't played it.
Well, the thing is, I remember when it first came out, there were a lot of Souls fans who were like, "Oh my gosh, I can't like have my own build. You know, I can't You only use one weapon throughout the whole game. You can't min max to do like a magic build or whatever.
It's not supposed to be.
No, it's not supposed to be like a Souls game. It's kind of like its own thing, and you really have to respect it. Like you have to respect it for what it is, or you have to play it on its own terms, basically. And if you do, oh my gosh, it's so good.
All right, here we go. Next one, Mario Party.
Vidi, I do
It's
agree.
time
Yeah,
for the
it is
Mario
a lot
Party
like
Superstars
Hollow Knight
review.
in that way.
For the Nintendo Switch. Was anyone else surprised when this game was announced? I thought all we'd get for Switch is Super Mario Party, which, while it has its shortcomings, was a pretty good game. So, did Superstars take the cake, or did it roll snake eyes? Let's find out. If you're unfamiliar with Mario Party, it's basically a board game, video game style. Each player takes their turn rolling the dice, moving around the board, collecting coins and spending them to purchase stars, which is the ultimate goal. Whoever has the most stars at the end of a match wins. Various gimmicks and special spaces on each board can turn the tide in your favor, as well as your opponent's. Think you're miles ahead in first place? Just wait a few turns, you might be in last before you know it. One of the main features in any board is that after every player has taken their turn in each round, they'll all play a minigame together, and whoever wins takes home a coin prize. These minigames can either be free-for-all, 2v2, or 1v3, and depending on the space each player landed on during their last turn can dictate which style of minigame everyone will play. There are 1v1 minigames, but these only happen in certain situations.
I like that minigame.
Superstars returns the classic feel of Mario Party and adds to the nostalgia by bringing back remastered versions of 5 familiar game boards. In order of difficulty, we've got Yoshi's Tropical Island from Mario Party 1, Spaceland from Mario Party 2, Peach's Birthday Cake, my most nostalgic board, from Mario Party 1, Woody Woods from Mario Party 3, and Horrorland from Mario Party 2. Each one has its own gimmick which can affect players in certain ways. Even though Peach's Birthday Cake holds a special place in my heart, I think Woody Woods is my favorite due to the specific strategies you have to account for in order to win. Every board has to be approached differently. With most boards, every time someone purchases a star, the star location will move, forcing players to think strategically on where they should try to go. However, Peach's Birthday Cake changes things up in that the star never moves. Each board offers something different, and they definitely feel diverse enough from each other, forcing you to play a little differently when playing them. Every time you complete a match, you'll be rewarded with coins and experience points. The coins can be exchanged for in-game content such as encyclopedia pages, music tracks, and stickers, which, by the way, is the main method of communicating to your opponents, and some are pretty funny if used in certain situations. The experience points level up your profile for all to see, and there are also unlockable achievements by performing specific tasks in a match,
Mario Party?
and it's fun trying to unlock them all. Like with the boards, all the minigames are remastered versions within older Mario Party titles. None of them utilize the motion controls, which I ultimately appreciate. Motion control minigames are fine, but I'd rather have the accuracy of using directional sticks and buttons. There are exactly 100 minigames total, with Mario Party 3 representing the majority. I don't really have a preference to which minigames made it into Superstars, and 100 is a good amount to have. I'd of course always enjoy more if they ever added DLC, but I'm fine with what we got. Graphically, it looks just fine and what you'd come to expect from a Mario title. Half of the controls are menu-based, so no problems here, and I honestly haven't come across any minigame that had frustrating controls. It's even funny how Nintendo specifically says to not use the palms of your hands to rotate the analog stick.
They don't want another lawsuit.
But, you know, if you want to win, you gotta do what you gotta do.
Did it!
In addition to the main party of the game, you're able to play just the minigames alone in multiple different ways. It's a good way to master them, and they're not all just local play, as one type lets you play online with the goal of getting the highest rank you can. Speaking of, full online play with up to 3 other people is available, and it's highly appreciated.
I forgot about
Mario
that
Party
skit.
Had this right from the get-go, it would have received a higher rating. The only real drawback with online mode is that you can't talk to anyone directly through the game itself. In lieu of this, Nintendo gave us the stickers that act as player communication. They're fine for the most part. I just wish Nintendo would one day let us talk to one another through their games, instead of what they think we want with their mobile app. While the game is made to be played with multiple people, you can play this by yourself, however don't expect the AI to keep up. You can set the AI's difficulty setting to however you like, but this really only affects how well it does in the minigames. It doesn't play strategically on the board itself. Like this example, Wario, set on Master AI difficulty, uses his custom dice block to move to the space just before the star. Or like this one, Birdo using their custom dice block to purposely move into the space where my piranha plant steals their star from me. Battling the AI in the minigames can be very
Wait, what
challenging
difficulty
and
was it
fun,
on?
But it's
Master.
kind of the opposite
Really?
when
Yes.
it's playing on the game board. I think this is the Mario Party most hoped and or expected with Super Mario Party. While that game has merit, this one is simply
Yes!
Uh-huh.
Yes! That was so amazing.
So
There
dumb.
are more than 5 boards to choose from, and the fact that we still cannot speak to each
That was
other
a
through the
crazy game
Yeah.
that we
That
played.
fun to
Oh my
play against
gosh.
the AI.
So much
This
happened
is
that
still
game.
a great Mario Party title, and one that I hope will become even better with DLC, but if not, it's still worth picking up. This game gets a 4.25 out of 5 with the title of Awesome.
Wario the Wii.
But why?
Carrots and a doggo. You want to do one more?
I kind of want to get into the thing, you know,
The thing.
the thing,
After?
the thing after.
Yeah, I already told him.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah.
Your review.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, the thing is, if we don't watch this next one, the final stream is going to be kind of long because there's going to be about 14 or 15
Oh.
videos.
Wait, what is the next one?
Pikmin.
Oh, that's right. I thought you mentioned that this was going to be.
I wanted to stop around here or Pikmin.
Okay.
I think we need to go with Pikmin.
Okay.
So, yeah, this will be the final review we're going to watch, and sad to say that next week will be the last stream, but I hope you guys have really enjoyed these. I have, especially.
Frequency in that skit, was that actual blood?
No. Oh, yeah, the skit, we had one shot to do it with. It was just cornstarch, water, and food color. Or, not cornstarch. Corn syrup.
Yeah.
Corn syrup and food coloring.
Yeah.
And it stayed on our hands for a couple days, like just a red
Yeah.
tint.
Yeah.
But and we played at what am I trying to say? We rehearsed the
We
the
rehearsed
skit,
it before
many
without
times.
the food coloring.
Yeah, many times we rehearsed it, how we were gonna use our hands. I was setting up the camera just how I wanted it, and because we had one shot to do it, otherwise we'd have to like wash our hands and face, and it was just like such a mess.
If we did mess up, we'd have to like wait like a few days to do it again because that stuff stayed on your skin for a long time.
Yeah. So, but I'm glad it worked out. It worked out great. Okay. All right, we're gonna get to the final review. Here we go. Of the night. It's so pretty.
It's time for the Pikmin 4 review for the Nintendo
Man, this
Switch.
game is great.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, here we go again. Another journey with our favorite carrots. What's in store for them? Let's find out. This adventure is about the Rescue Corps, a team of interstellar rangers whose task is to search and rescue anyone broadcasting an SOS signal. It just so happens that our hero from Pikmin 1, Olmar, has crashed onto a planet and needs help. It seems like almost everyone in this game universe has the same hiccups when it comes to landing their spaceship, because once the Rescue Corps reaches the planet in question, their ship crash lands as well. So now you, a rookie within the Corps, sets out from your home planet to rescue the team. As you begin investigating the area near the crash landing site, you'll meet up with the Rescue Corps space pup, Ochi, who instantly bonds with you. Good thing too, since Ochi is very helpful and effective in following through orders you give him, such as creating pathways and carrying objects. As you progress, you'll find a couple of missing members of the Corps, as well as sprout your first red Pikmin. The comm officer, Colin, concludes via Olimar's previous voyage log that the only way to power up their spaceship is to find objects that are sparkly and convert their sparkliness into sparklium. Sure. Once you've found enough sparkly items in the immediate area, the ship's radar powers up and identifies more SOS signals, and so the captain sends you and Ochi to investigate and return with the castaways and bring back more sparklium. If you've ever played any other Pikmin game before, you'll be familiar with the core gameplay, but that's not a bad thing. Don't fix what's not broken, right? Every area to investigate is quite large, with many puzzles to complete, enemies to face, and objects to obtain. You'll begin at the crack of dawn to do as much as you can before sunset, which is about 15 real minutes. Ochi is a good boy who can carry stuff and fight enemies alongside your Pikmin. At the beginning of the game, Ochi is as strong as 3 Pikmin. Eventually, he'll grow big enough that he'll be able to give you and your Pikmin a ride. This can be extremely efficient and safer for everyone. Unleashing Ochi's rush ability on an enemy will cause damage, and any riding Pikmin will be launched onto the enemy at once, causing damage significantly faster than throwing them one by one. It's unwise to attack enemies from the front, and figuring out weaknesses to exploit can turn the tide of battle in your favor in an instant. Even though Ochi is there to assist, your powerful platoon of Pikmin is your real means of getting things done. The Pikmin can carry objects back to your ship, but most require more than one Pikmin to do so. When you send Pikmin to pick up an object, a fraction will appear overhead. The denominator is the required Pikmin to carry it, and the numerator is how many Pikmin are currently trying to pick it up. You can send more Pikmin to carry an object than is required, and this will result in the item being carried faster than normal. As you play through, you'll eventually come across other colored onions, the hive, so to speak, of Pikmin. Once you've found and captured an onion, you'll be able to increase the population of the correlating colored Pikmin. The onion will sprout new Pikmin via downed enemies and certain colored flower pellets. The game changes things up from its 3 predecessors, in that in the beginning, instead of 100 Pikmin, you're only allowed a max of 20 out on the field. I didn't like this at first, but eventually didn't mind it, as it forces you to think strategically and perhaps be extra cautious. I don't think players who have never played any other Pikmin game before will mind, but if you're a veteran at any level, you'll notice it immediately and will need to get used to this speed bump. The surface contains the majority of exploration, puzzles, and combat, however there are various caves scattered throughout which hold their own challenges. While underground, time isn't a factor and you're able to explore without worrying about nightfall. The caves not only contain treasures and castaways, but you can also find wild Pikmin, some of which can be Pikmin you haven't found their correlating onion for. If you can keep them alive upon returning to the surface, any wild Pikmin, regardless if you have the appropriate colored onions or not, will be stored in your current onion. You'll need to be extremely careful with any Pikmin you have that don't have their own onion yet, because if they die, you won't be able to use that type until you find more wild ones or the specific colored onion. Pikmin 4 takes the Smash Bros. Ultimate approach and says everyone is here. What I mean is, every previously known species of Pikmin will eventually be at your command. In addition, however, 2 new Pikmin make their debut. Firstly, Ice Pikmin are extremely weak in combat, but their freeze ability can make battles a breeze. If you have enough, you can also use Ice Pikmin to freeze bodies of water, turning them into walkways. The other new type is the Glow Pikmin. These are special Pikmin that only appear during night missions. Which, by the way, for the first time ever, there are night missions. Instead of collecting objects and exploring around, night missions are exclusively battle.
I like these missions.
You have to defend special dirt mounds called luminols, which are the homes for the glow Pikmin.
The ones in the beginning were really
using only
easy,
glow Pikmin.
but the later
These night
ones
missions
are pretty
fairly
challenging.
easy in the beginning, but become increasingly difficult as you play more and more. Unfortunately, you cannot use glow Pikmin during the day on the surface, but each time you complete a night mission, you'll gain glow Pikmin seeds, which you can use in caves. I wish I had remembered this much earlier in my playthrough, as I didn't think to use them until near the final boss. They're basically a backup Pikmin if you need more firepower, and they're especially effective in fighting any type of enemy, as they are not affected by fire, electricity, water, really anything. One of the objects you can collect is raw material, which the Pikmin use to create new pathways via bridges and climbing walls. Raw material is also used to purchase permanent upgrades and weapons and items back at the base. I honestly didn't use the weapons that much for my entire playthrough. Sure, they're helpful, but rarely did I feel like they were necessary. Now, the permanent upgrades, on the other hand, were definitely a welcome. Increased armor and health for you and Ochi is basically needed in the later levels, and special tech pieces can ease the burden of managing your Pikmin. In my opinion, the best gear you can purchase is the Idler's Alert. This is a special signal to all idling Pikmin to come to the spot you called them at. No longer did you have to return to base,
Here they
whistle them
come.
up, and then return to your task, as now they come to you. Well, to be precise, they're summoned to the spot in which you use the idler's alert. This was the only downside about this item. It would have been far better had the alert called them to your character, and therefore
That
you
would have
wouldn't
been
have to
broken,
wait for
honestly.
them in a single spot. It's
I
still a huge
still
supporting
wanted
tool
it.
and makes the gameplay objectively better. In addition to gear, Ochi can train with the ship's captain to learn new abilities such as increasing his strength to carry heavier objects, or being able to pluck Pikmin out of the ground with your character. Because the levels are quite large, one of the best features of the game is once you've discovered certain areas, you're able to move your base to various predetermined locations. This makes retrieving treasures much faster for the Pikmin, as you don't have to send them to the original base location. The main reason for searching an area is to find more sparklium, yes, but it's also to rescue castaways needing help. The problem, though, is when you find a castaway, you'll see that their body is now covered in leaves, and they're obsessed with Dandori challenges. Dandori is the art of being the most efficient you can be with your tasks. Once you find certain castaways, they'll jump down into a cave where they've set up a Dandori challenge for you. Here, you're given a time limit to progress through a small area. Opening passageways, defeating enemies, and returning treasures to your ship needs to be done in a highly efficient way. Because you don't know the map layout until you get there, it can add to the challenge itself. If you're able to reach at least a bronze level of Dandori, the castaway will be so impressed with your skills they will dizzy themselves out and you're able to return them to the ship. These Dandori challenges are quite entertaining, and being forced to play efficiently actually helps you build your Dandori skills in the main game. You also receive a prize of 30 raw materials regardless of the score you receive, as long as it's at least bronze. I didn't like this, as different prize amounts would have given players more incentive to reach higher scores. When you return a castaway to your base, you'll be able to return them to their normal self via a serum you collect by successfully completing a night mission. Many of these castaways will give you side quests to complete, such as blooming certain amount of Pikmin or collecting X amount of objects, stuff like that. It's fine for the most part, and perhaps I'm being picky, but I didn't feel like I was gaining any extra gameplay with these side quests. Your reward for doing so is extra raw material, which was helpful, but the fact is that most, if not every side quest available was a part of my normal gameplay. Of course I'm going to bloom as many Pikmin as I can. Of course I'm going to collect any and all objects I can find. Why am I being rewarded with extra prizes for playing the game normally? It's almost akin to a participation trophy. A better side quest could be to bloom a certain color of Pikmin in a short time span, or perhaps defeat 3 specific enemies in a day with only ice Pikmin. These are side quests. The others are just normal points of gameplay. The game looks fantastic and well detailed. I did notice some points of slowdown, but these were few and far between. The controls worked well for the most part. However, I didn't like that when you were riding on Ochi, you couldn't charge your Pikmin. Yes, you could charge Ochi and the Pikmin at the same time, but often I found myself just wanting to charge the Pikmin while I was riding on Ochi. Also, Ochi won't attack while you're riding on him, and so you'd first have to hop off, then have him charge for extra attack power. It may sound trivial, but this specific situation happened more often than you might think. The most annoying thing about the controls was that the map was mapped to the plus button instead of minus. I guess I'm so used to this control scheme due to Zelda, and it's not too much of a problem, but it was so annoying through the vast majority of the game. Even 10 plus hours in, I still couldn't remember that plus opened up the map. The most annoying thing about the game in general was the HUD,
can't you remap the
specifically
button?
the crew members' comments.
I tried.
Every day and night, your crew would chime in with comments, and sometimes hints that would appear right in the middle of the screen. Like, could you not?
Yeah.
I don't need help from you in the first place, but if you insist on talking, could the messages appear near the bottom of the screen instead of right where I'm trying to focus? And no, you can't get rid or move them in the game settings. The boss fights were fun, but honestly, they were probably the easiest bosses to take down in any Pikmin game. I'd say Pikmin 1 was all around the most difficult, and the boss fights were no exception. Here, I didn't really feel challenged to the point where I needed to think too strategically. I doubt I was overpowered the whole time. It felt more like the bosses didn't have as much HP proportionally to previous Pikmin game bosses. Granted, there were a few where defeating them took more effort, but the vast majority were mini-boss level of difficulty at best. There is a co-op mode, but unfortunately it's not like it was in Pikmin 3. Instead of another player controlling a second character, it goes Super Mario Galaxy style, where the second player can shoot pebbles at enemies and give player 1 various temporary boosts once in a while. I can't fault the game too much for not having a true co-op mode, but coming from Pikmin 3, it's quite disappointing. Overall, though, Pikmin 4 is an excellent game, and is probably, objectively, the best Pikmin game to date. Comparing to Pikmin 3, the campaign is about 2.5 to 3 times the length, plus there are many extras to participate in, such as the Dandori battles and side quests, even if they don't really feel like true side quests. Even though I didn't like not being able to charge only your Pikmin while riding on Ochi, the super annoying comments from your crew wasn't appreciated, and the boss battle's difficulty could have been boosted, I had a fun and exciting Pikmin adventure, and you will too. This game gets a 4.75 out of 5 with the title of Epic.
That air horn. Oh, wow. We're going to start the next one on a good one.
Yes. Oh.
That was fun. Those are some good reviews.
Yeah. Josh Horn, thanks for coming to the stream. We're ending right now, but I appreciate you stopping by. And thanks to everybody who watched the whole thing with us, or half of it with us. Had to leave in the middle of it. I appreciate all of you guys coming in, especially all the people who have been here since the first stream. That's really awesome that you guys keep coming back to it. So, the final stream will most likely happen next weekend, scheduling permitting. But as an added bonus, right after this stream, I will make the next review live to the public. It's already uploaded. I just have to switch it to public, and you guys can see it. So I hope you enjoy that. Other than that, thanks again for coming out, and we will see you for the final one next weekend. We'll see you later.
All right. Have a good one, guys. Take care.